2 days later. God damn it. Corey's body jolted, then stilled. He sat cross-legged on the kitchen floor, ringed by empty plates. His eyes opened, sharper and colder than before. I still can't solo a level 20 smiley unless I use the terrain, he muttered, then caught a whiff of himself and winced. He checked his armpit and grimaced. I need a shower. The kitchen door opened. Kyle stepped in, glanced at the plates, then at Corey. Zane, we need to talk. What's up? It's been over a day since your spasms. Looks like you're steady now. Kyle gestured at the mess. Corey felt heat rise in his face. No one stays here for free. People cook, clean, or help outside. Most join Matt, Mac, and me to clear monsters and level up. So, will you come with us tomorrow? You'll get most of the soul stones to catch up to the others. Corey turned it over. The message was clear, no freeloaders. Help with chores or hunt. What if I go alone? Kyle blinked, surprised. He studied Corey's face. No joke there. Do you know the average level outside? Corey didn't. He'd only seen the dorms and this cafeteria since the world fell apart. No. 30, Kyle said. Most revenants out there are level 30 now. Do you still want to go solo? The hell. Corey breathed. It's day 8 of the apocalypse. They scale fast. You haven't leveled since I pulled you out. Kyle paused. Still going alone? Corey thought for a few seconds. Yeah, thanks for the heads up. It was risky, but he wanted real fights, not just simulations from the library of records. He also needed a reason in case his skills jumped in front of Kyle. Kyle shrugged. Your call. But if you want to come back here, you'll have to pay. Pay with what? Federation cash. Kyle frowned, then smacked his forehead. Right. You probably haven't killed a level 10 yet. You're level 5. How do you know that? A skill. Shows me the level of anyone weaker than me. Kyle said. Revenants drop coins at 10 plus. Bronze at level 10, though the drop rate sucks. Higher level, better chance. Got it. What's the fee? 1 silver coin. Corey nodded. Pricey or not, this wasn't his base. I'm heading out in the morning. Can I take some food and water? A little, Kyle said. Thanks. When you hit level 50, ping me, Kyle added. There's a place I want to take everyone. Safe if you're 50 or above. Corey gave him a curious look. Kyle just smiled. It's a secret. You'll see. He started for the door. Corey lowered his head, then called out. Kyle. Have you heard from the group? Harry, Set, Janet, Tom, Becca, anyone? Do you know if they're alive? Kyle finished. He let out a breath. Other than Harry and Becca, I think the rest are gone. I couldn't reach them. He turned the handle. And take a bath, Zane. You stink. The door closed. Corey stared at the floor, the words looping in his head. After a long minute, he looked up at the ceiling. I see. Rumble. Clap. Boom. Rain hammers E Academy as thunder rolls overhead. A fork of lightning tears across the sky, flashing over the grounds. In that brief light, a hooded teenager sprints through the storm, black cloak and tatters, eyes cold and focused. 5 revenants chase him, their bodies scored with dagger cuts. Despite the dark, the rain, and the wind, he moves like he knows every corner. He slips between buildings, feet barely splashing through puddles, a ghost on familiar streets. He tips his chin up. A roar explodes ahead. A larger revenant launches from a doorway straight at him. He stays calm. The moment it closes the gap, he leaps, twists in the air, lands above it, and inverts the hunt. The red-handled dagger flashes. One clean slice. The head tumbles away, grin still fixed, while the body hits the ground and gushes red that the rain quickly washes thin. He does not linger. He runs on. The 5 behind him howl and surge. He turns into a narrow alley. 20 steps in, he hops lightly, keeps running for 10 more, then stops and faces them. 10 steps out, the lead revenant stumbles. The one behind trips over it. Then the next. They crash in a chain, all 5 tangled on the wet concrete, ankles caught by the thin trip wire he strung. He is already moving. He crouches and drives his dagger into the first skull. It claws feebly. He pins its hands and finishes it, then moves down the line, fast and methodical, blade in, blade out, until all 5 are still. Rumble. Clap. Boom. Another lightning blast tears the sky. Wind yanks back his hood. Average features. Black eyes. Short black curls. Warm caramel skin. Corey. He scans the alley for movement or anything out of place. Nothing. He kneels at the nearest corpse and opens the chest with steady hands. 2 minutes later, a soul stone comes free. He slips it into the bag hidden under his cloak. Inside the bag, dozens of stones glow faintly. He repeats the work for each body, face unreadable. When he is done, he collects the tripwire, pulls his hood up, and slides out of the alley as quietly as he came. He runs streets littered with bodies, debris, and wrecked cars. Eyes sharp, senses open. After a few turns, he stops at a tall, ruined building. The front entrance is blocked by rubble, so he circles left, finds another collapsed section, and starts clearing the stones he knows by heart. A small hole opens in the wall. He slips through, then stacks the stones back in place. From his bag, he takes a torch and clicks it on. He climbs the stairs to the top floor and crosses to a window that overlooks the road. This height is why he chose this place. He can see the approaches, hear anyone shifting the entrance boulders, and he has a simple trap waiting below. Shapes move in the rain. Smileys, pacing with those awful grins. He did not meet any on his way because he knows the safe path from the alley to here, and he swept it earlier. No black smiley today. He closes the curtains, lights the fireplace, and lets the warmth soak in. Cloak off. Onto the couch. This room has a bed, a bathroom, a hearth. Luck more than planning, but it works. He extends his right hand. The status screen blooms in the air. Basic information. Name, Corey Jr. Zane. Race, human. Brand level, 2. Affiliation, none. Class, none. Talent, omniscience, unawakened. Language, English. Titles, one of the 4 possessors of a graded talent on planet New Earth. Tier 0. Level, 530, unawakened. Attributes, strength, 1050. Agility, 1040. Dexterity, 516. Constitution, 1040. Intelligence, 5300. Endurance, 1040. Mana, 0. Free AP, 0. Hidden attributes, luck, /100. Charisma, /100. Wisdom, / skills. Record talent skill. Silent steps, unranked. Night vision, unranked. Super jump, LV2. Resistances, fear resistance, LV1. Pain resistance, LV3. Equipment, Ghost Reaper, red grade. Ghost Cloak, red grade. Pet /mount, none. System remark, even stronger, you are still an insignificant bug in the grand scheme of things, high intelligence or not.
Hey everyone, Firescale Audiobooks here. If there's a novel you'd love to hear more of, you can support us on Patreon or Ko-fi. Depending on your tier, I'll make extra parts just for the stories you're most excited about. Usually I can only upload 4 to 5 parts of each novel, but with your support, we can go beyond that. And of course, don't forget to hit subscribe. It helps more than you know.
Basic information. Name, Corey Jr. Zane. Race, human. Brand level, 2. Affiliation, none. Class, none. Talent, omniscience, unawakened. Language, English. Titles, one of the 4 possessors of a graded talent on planet New Earth. Tier 0. Level, 5-30, unawakened. Attributes, strength, 10-50. Agility, 10-40. Dexterity, 5-16. Constitution, 10-40. Intelligence, 50-300. Endurance, 10-40. Mana, 0. Free A.P, 0. Hidden attributes, luck, /100. Charisma, /100. Wisdom, / skills. Record talent skill. Danger sense, level 1. Silent steps, level 1. Night vision, unranked. Super jump, LV2. Resistances, fear resistance, LV1. Pain resistance, LV3. Equipments, Ghost Reaper, red grade. Ghost Cloak, red grade. Pet /mount, none. System remark, although stronger, you're still an insignificant bug in the grand scheme of things, even with your high intelligence. As Corey looked at his status window, which had changed ever since he left Kyle's survivor group 5 days ago, his eyes moved towards his intelligence attribute points, and he frowned slightly. The major differences on his status screen were his level, which had gone up from 5 to 30, his increase in attribute points, the addition of 3 new skills, a new equipment, and his pain resistance going from level 2 to 3, which was because of the unknown number of times he died in the library of records, which he did not bother to count for the sake of his mental health. His first day outside alone was not easy at all for Corey. He had to avoid most of the smileys due to his extremely low level. He also had to look for a safe place to stay, and he had to be cautious and observe his surroundings properly so as not to be caught off guard by a smiley. Corey used the first day to observe the places he could stay and the smileys he had a chance of killing through sneak attacks. The first smiley he killed was a level 20 smiley by a sneak and planned attack. By laying a few traps here and there, he lured the smiley towards the traps and killed it from the back. His level increased from 5 to 9, and his attributes also increased after absorbing the soul stone, and it was from this smiley he got the unranked passive skill, Night Vision, which made him to see at night. After killing that smiley, the next smiley he killed was a level 30 smiley, and he also did it using tricks and a sneak attack. His attributes increased, and so did his level, which increased from 9 to 17 after absorbing the soul stone. He also got the skill, Super Jump, and the equipment, Ghost Cloak, from the smiley. The Ghost Cloak had a small amount of defense, and could also reduce his presence to some extent. The Ghost Cloak was a major part of what helped him in killing smileys up and down due to it reducing his presence, which enabled him to kill smileys through sneak attacks. His level would be much higher than it was currently if he absorbed all the soul stones of all the smileys he killed. But the problem was that after killing the 5th smiley, which is a level 24 smiley, and absorbing the soul stone, only his level increased, but his attributes did not. He thought maybe it was because the difference in level was not much, so he looked for a smiley, which was level 30 at least, and he found a level 32 smiley and killed it, but his attributes didn't increase, only his level did. He had to call Kyle and ask if he knew why that was happening to him, and Kyle told him that it was the same for everybody. That after killing the 4th Revenant, no matter the level, they don't get any more attribute points, they only level up. Kyle told him he suspects that after killing 4 of the same type of monsters, one's attributes would not increase anymore, which made Corey believe to have a high probability of being correct. After Corey learned this information from Kyle, he decided to level up to level 30 and find a black smiley to kill, so as to increase his attributes even more, because Kyle told him that the higher the difference between his level and the level of the monster he killed, the more attribute points he would gain from the soul stone. Although it was stupid and dangerous to think of fighting a black smiley when the one he recorded was a level 65 black smiley, he had his plan on finding a way to kill it, but it would require him to be extremely careful, vigilant, and also Lady Luck to smile upon him. But it seemed like Lady Luck was not smiling at him for the past 2 days since he had been looking for a black smiley, but couldn't find one. He had been encountering normal smileys everywhere, and he had been killing them and gaining money. Yes, another thing that Corey gained apart from an increase in strength was money, and this was where his annoyance and anger at the universal system was rekindled. Normally, one would expect that a universal system would have a system inventory or storage where one could store their items and, most importantly, money, but no. The useless universal system did not have an inventory where he could store items, and it most importantly did not have an inventory where he could store his damn money. Like, what kind of system did not have an inventory where he could store his coins? It was absolutely inconceivable, absolutely unbelievable. The universal system was the epitome of uselessness in Corey's eyes. He hated its uselessness. Thank you, and have a great day/night. And because of the uselessness of a universal system, he had to hide his coins underneath a part of the wooden floor in the room he was in. Boom, bang, roar. Just as Corey was observing his status window and remembering, an explosion followed by roars resounded from outside into his room. Corey closed his status window and ran to the window. He looked at the roads, and his mouth opened wide when he saw what was happening outside. For boys like him shouting and fighting at least 10 normal smileys, and 3 black smileys. Corey's eyes constricted when he saw 3 black smileys with different kinds of weapons. One was carrying a sledgehammer, another was holding a great sword, and the last only had gloves on its hands, but its strength seemed greater than the other 2. These 3 black smileys were currently fighting against a boy in a suit and hat holding 2 guns, a boy with a sword and shield, and 2 beasts, a lion and an ape. Not only were there 3 black smileys, there were 10 normal smileys which were being fought by a boy who was flying in the air while shooting arrows on the smileys below, and 3 beasts, a leopard, snake, and a kangaroo, which Corey guessed was being controlled by the boy staying at least 15 meters away from the battlefield. But just as Corey was watching the fight, he noticed something weird. There were times when a normal smiley would drop dead, even when nothing attacked it, and there were times he would see dagger slashes appear on a smiley's body, even when nothing attacked it. Corey squinted his eyes and observed the battlefield with scrutiny before he noticed a boy appearing close to one of the smileys unknown to the smiley and slashed the smiley's thigh. Even after slashing the smiley did not notice the boy and just roared in pain and anger. Just as Corey was watching the boy, Corey's eyes unknowingly moved to another place just for a second, then looked back to where he was watching the boy previously. But, where is he? Corey lost sight of the boy. He looked for the boy again before he found him behind another monster. But just as he did, his eyes involuntarily moved away from the boy. Then just as he noticed that, his eyes moved back to where he saw the boy previously, but the boy was no longer there. The hell? Corey was baffled for a second before his eyes shined. This is my chance. I need to get closer and record this battle. Corey thought, then ran out of the room with his fastest speed, not wanting to miss the battle, and while running, a thought kept on repeating in his mind. Free combat experience. Free combat experience. I'm going to gain free combat experience from this battle. And /N. This bonus chapter was because y'all reached dropped up to 5 power stones. Thanks so much to the people that dropped. If y'all have been reading my notes after each chapter, y'all should be able to guess the names of the big 5, but I wonder if you can guess who is who based on the abilities I showed in this chapter. Anyway, their characters would be introduced properly in the next chapter. Also, please, I don't know if there's any female among the first 5 people that dropped power stones. I checked your profiles, but I saw none was a female. Some did not disclose their gender. So if one of you is a female, please tell me so that I can change the gender. Thanks. Once again, people drop power stones even if it's not for the bonus chapters. If you're enjoying the book, just drop power stones. Thank you, and have a great day/night. As the battle outside was ongoing, Corey ran down the stairs, but finding his speed slower than what he wanted, he moved to the railing of the stairs, looked down, calculated internally, then jumped over the railings onto the next stairs. Bam! Landing while producing a loud sound, his skill, silent steps, not having any effect in this situation, Corey jumped over the railing beside him and kept on going until he reached the ground level. He moved towards the hidden entrance and quickly removed the stones at an extremely fast speed. Using 20 seconds to clear the entrance, Corey quickly passed through it and turned to cover the entrance back, his frustration growing at the wasted time spent on opening and closing the entrance. Now I know the usefulness of doors. Corey thought as he placed the last stone at the stone, and just as he did, he heard a growl. He turned back abruptly and saw a normal smiley walking towards him with a creepy smile. Corey's eyes flickered seeing the smiley. Record, Corey thought, and on Corey's left eye appeared rapidly changing words, letters and numbers. Corey didn't need to enter the library of records to see the data of recorded beings now. He learned that he could view their data physically, though his vision on his left eye would be temporarily interrupted due to the numbers, letters, and words that would appear in front of his left eye. Corey ignored all the words and letters and focused on one thing. Level 44 Revenant. Seeing that, he got up and ran toward the smiley. The smiley opened his mouth to roar, and Corey, seeing that, threw Smile Reaper. Reaping through the air and with frightening accuracy, it pierced through the mouth of the smiley, leaving a hole as it flew beyond the smiley. The smiley, not dead but unable to roar, groaned in pain, but Corey with cold eyes jumped towards a Smiley and spoke. "I said you guys shout too much." Bam! Corey kicked its head like a striker taking a volley, and the head flew away from the body. Bang! Splatter! The head of the Smiley detached from its neck, flew to the wall of a nearby building, and smashed into it, causing it to splatter, leaving blood, flesh, and brains. Bam! The headless Smiley fell backwards on the floor, not moving a muscle. Corey calmly turned around and started running towards where the battle he so wanted to record was taking place. But just as he moved a few meters away from the Smiley, a translucent mist rose up from the Smiley and moved towards Corey. Corey, without turning back, kept on running, and just as the translucent mist was a meter away from Corey, and it looked like it would reach Corey, a whistling sound could be heard, and then a dagger with a red handle passed through the mist, causing the mist to disappear and a silver coin to drop on the floor. Just as the dagger was about to reach Corey, it swerved to Corey's front, and Corey calmly grabbed it without slowing down his pace. He rotated the dagger around his wrist, and if one observed Corey's wrist properly, one would find thin thread like wires around his wrist. Boom! Roar! God damn it! Ayumanox, I need your help. I can't. My hands are tied. Corey, who was running, heard the sounds of battle and quickly hastened his speed. A few seconds later, Corey saw the battlefield and realized that the battle was getting more intense. More Smileys had been attracted due to the sounds of the fight, causing the two boys and the three beasts fighting the normal Smileys to be in dire conditions. Corey hid behind the closest car and kept on watching the fight. Although he wanted to help, he decided to check out the situation first and check how dangerous it was and if he had a chance of escaping if he needed to. Since he was not heartless or ruthless enough to not help people in need, especially when those people are students of E Academy. As Corey watched the battle, he realized that the lion and ape which were fighting the black Smiley with gloves were in serious conditions. The lion was limping and some of its tooth had been broken, while the ape had a broken arm, a bloody body, and broken teeth. The black Smiley, which normally had a creepy smile, had an even creepier smile, looking like it was enjoying the play between it and its toys. It was clear that the black Smiley with gloves was toying with the two beasts. Record. Rapidly changing letters. Words and numbers appeared on Corey's left eye, and Corey focused on the black Smiley with gloves for 5 seconds before what he wanted appeared. Level 62, Dark Revenant. Seeing that, he changed his focus to the two beasts. Level 57, Lion. Level 59, Ape. Corey, without panic, then looked at the black Smiley with a great sword which was fighting the boy that had a sword and a shield. And the boy with the sword and shield, much to Corey's surprise, was giving the black Smiley a run for its money. Corey was curious, so he checked the stats of the black Smiley and the boy. Level 59, Dark Revenant. Zealous Dash, level 53. Corey whistled as he saw the boy's level. He's stronger than I expected. Corey thought, then looked at the last person who was fighting the black Smiley with a sledgehammer. He was the weirdest in Corey's opinion since he wore a suit and a fedora. A fedora is a type of hat, while holding two guns. Corey had not seen somebody wearing a suit and a fedora while fighting, so it was strange to him. What was also strange was that the boy looked fine even as he fought the black Smiley with the sledgehammer. The black Smiley would always try to get close to the boy, and whenever it crossed a certain distance, the power of the gun's bullet would suddenly increase and force the black Smiley back. Though Corey noticed that every time the gun's bullets increased in power, the boy would have a heartbroken look despite nothing happening to him, causing Corey to be confused. Record. Corey decided to use Record to know the power levels of the boy and the black Smiley. The underscore founder dash level 53. Level 59 Dark Revenant. Huh. The underscore founder. As Corey looked at the weird name of the boy, he heard a shout from the boy who was staying a few meters away from the battlefield. God damn it. Founder, do something now. My beasts are about to die. Corey looked at the boy who shouted and used Record to view his name and level. Ayumanox dash level 53. What a weird name this 3 have. Corey thought, then heard the underscore founder shout back with a depressing tone. But what are my coins? I'll have to use my coins. Coins! Corey looked at the underscore founder with a confused expression. What was he talking about? Just as Corey was wondering the hell was happening, he heard a shout from both Iuminox and Zelenus. Motherfucker, our lives are at stake. Both shouted at the same time, and Corey could see a depressed and heartbroken expression on the underscore founder's face. A second later, he gritted his teeth and brought out a golden coin. A tear escaped his eye, and he kissed it tenderly. After kissing it tenderly, he murmured, "I'm sorry, baby." And with a much more heartbroken expression and tone, he spoke once again. Absorb. The moment he said those words, a golden light spread out from the underscore founder, causing Corey to close his eyes. When he opened them back, he noticed a golden glow surrounding the underscore founder, and he saw a murderous expression on his face. "I will kill you all." Speaking each word for word. The underscore founder with anger wanted to see blood. "I will kill you all." Corey looked at the founder, who was glowing golden and also had expression of rage. Just as Corey was wondering what the hell was going on, the founder ran towards the black smiley with a sledgehammer. The black smiley, seeing the founder running towards it, raised his hammer and slammed it down, intending to squash the founder like a bug it was meant to squash a long time ago. The black smiley had been frustrated and angry with the founder ever since they started fighting, because ever since they started fighting, the founder would always move far away from its reach and would just keep on shooting out those annoying projectiles. But now that the cause of its hatred and frustration was close to it, it would make sure it squashes the boy like a bug. Or at least it thought it could. Bam! Corey's eyes widened as he saw something unbelievable. The founder with his slender stature held the black smiley's right hand with his own left hand, stopping the hammer from hitting the ground. "What the?" Corey thought. Then he heard the founder speak. "This is for making me spend my gold coin." Bam! The founder punched the abdomen of the black smiley while still holding its hand, causing the black smiley to fall on its knees. With an indifferent expression, the founder pulled out his gun and pointed it at the black smiley. "Next time, learn to die quickly." Bang, bang, bang. 3 rapid shots were fired. 1 to the head, the second to the chest, and the third to the head again. Bang, bam. The black smiley fell on the ground with a thud, causing silence to reign everywhere as Corey and even all the smileys looked at the founder with dazed gazes. Oomph. The founder looked at all the smileys with a superior gaze, clearly enjoying the attention he was getting. But just as he was enjoying it, Iuminox broke his moment and shouted, "Hey, you stingy bastard! What are you doing? Hurry up and kill this gloved bastard. My pets will soon die. Is that how you talk to your founder?" The founder, clearly pissed that his moment was broken, spoke with a cold and authoritative tone. But Iuminox, having none of it, looked at him back with a cold gaze. "If you don't start fighting now, I'll reduce your income in the group and your tax would increase," Iuminox said. "You won't dare." The founder threatened back, but Iuminox just looked at the battlefield, which had become strangely quiet and peaceful. Finding the remaining 3 members of the group, Iuminox shouted, "All in favor of a notion to reduce the founder's income and increase his tax, say aye." Aye, 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 aye. The founder with a pale face looked at everybody. "You bastards! You can't!" Roar, roar, roar. And just as he shouted, the gloved black smiley roared, causing the other smileys, both black and normal, to roar also. Iuminox, seeing that, looked at the founder and threatened, "Won't my pets die, and you can say goodbye to your income?" "Shit." The founder with a pale face cursed, then ran to the gloved black smiley, which was trying to kill the retreating lion and ape. "Die, you bastard!" Bang, 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 bang. The founder shot his gun at the gloved black smiley, causing it to turn towards the founder in anger. It shot a punch, and the founder punched back. Corey, seeing that, thought that the gloved black smiley would be thrown back due to the immense strength the founder showed when fighting Hammer Black Smiley. But surprisingly, bang! The founder was forced several steps back, while the gloved black smiley didn't budge an inch. Corey, seeing that, was surprised at the immense strength of the gloved black smiley. He turned to the founder and saw blood dripping down his hand, and the golden glow which was around him was reducing in its intensity and even flickered a few times. The founder looked at his bloodied hand, then looked at the gloved black smiley, whose smile looked like it was widening, seemingly enjoying the fight. "Fuck!" The founder cursed, then gritted his teeth and with the most sorrowful face Corey has seen only in burials. The founder brought out 2 gold coins. He didn't say a word and just tightened his palm around the gold coins. The moment he did that, the golden light around him intensified so much that Corey had to turn his head away. After the intensity of the light reduced, Corey looked at the founder and saw him have an expression of hatred, anger, and sadness. Die! The founder shouted with hatred and ran towards the gloved black Smiley. The gloved black Smiley, stimulated because of the founder's roar, roared back and ran up to the founder. Getting close to the founder, it shot out a punch, and the founder shot as in response. Catch! A breaking sound could be heard, and Corey saw the right arm of the gloved black Smiley dangling by its side. Roar! It roared in pain, but the founder, with eyes full of hatred, ran towards it and kicked its leg, causing it to buckle and fall onto the ground. Roar! It roared in pain once again, and the founder kneed its mouth. I said, "Shut up, you piece of shit." Bam, 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 bang. Kicks, punches, elbows, and even head. The finder used everything against the gloved black Smiley, unleashing all its rage and hatred onto it. You dare make me use 3 gold coins? You deserve death. How dare you? You piece of shit. Continuing his barrage of punches and kicks, the founder spoke and cursed while pummeling the gloved black Smiley. Corey felt a chill down his spine when he saw the ruthlessness of the founder. He mentally made up his mind not to get on his bad side if possible. Corey looked at the last black Smiley, which was fighting Zelenus, and found the fight to be over. Zelenus stood on top of the black Smiley with his sword plunged into the head of the black Smiley. He got up after confirming that the black Smiley was dead and moved toward the battlefield with the normal Smileys to help. As Corey looked around, he realized that the group did not need any help from the beginning, and he was just disturbing himself thinking they did. Just as Corey was about to leave, since he had nothing else to do here, and he had no reason to meet up with this strange group with weird names, he saw something behind Ayumanox running at a fast speed towards him. Corey, not wanting Ayumanox to die, since he was kind of funny to him, got up from hiding spot, ran, then shouted, "Behind you!" The entire group of 5 were baffled hearing the shout that came from nowhere. They looked for the source and saw Corey running towards Ayumanox. Corey, seeing Ayumanox standing still and none of his friends noticing the black Smiley behind him, cursed in his mind and shouted once more, "Look the fuck behind you!" Ayumanox and the others looked at where Corey was facing, and when they saw the black Smiley running towards Ayumanox with a creepy smile and its towering body, most were shocked. But Ayumanox was scared and panicked as he tried to move back. "Fuck!" Ayumanox cursed, and just when the black Smiley was a few meters from Ayumanox, a gunshot was fired. Bang! Corey, hearing the gunshot, was about to stop since the founder reacted faster than he expected, but something which nobody expected happened. Just as everyone expected the bullet to pierce into the head of the black Smiley, a clanging sound was instead heard with the bullet falling on the ground and the black Smiley continuing on its path. Shit! Corey cursed, and so did Ayumanox. Corey increased his speed while thinking of ways to reach Ayumanox on time, because he knew that with his speed, he would never be able to reach and save Ayumanox quickly. As for Ayumanox beasts, he could not find a single one of them after they retreated from the gloved black Smiley, so they could not be used to buy time. Just as he saw the black Smiley getting closer and closer to Ayumanox, Corey had an idea, so he quickly shouted, "Hey, catch!" He threw his dagger towards Ayumanox, frightening Ayumanox out of his wits. Ayumanox wanted to instinctively dodge, but Corey quickly shouted, "Catch it if you want to live." Ayumanox, having no time to think, quickly caught the dagger by the handle, which was possible due to his superhuman stats. Before Ayumanox had time to think, he felt a tug and saw that the dagger was being pulled by a string which was attached to it. Huh. Ayumanox was confused seeing that, but then he heard Corey shout, "Let go. Don't fight, dash," Corey said, then paused as Ayumanox did something that completely stupefied him. Oh, okay. Although confused, Ayumanox complied and let the dagger go. The strange guy wanted to save him after all, so he had to listen to his orders. Corey looked at the dagger, which flew towards him for a short distance before falling onto the ground with the blankiest of looks. "Why did you let the dagger go?" Corey shouted with a frustrated tone, confusing Ayumanox. But you told me to, Ayumanox argued back, and Corey looked at him with a dead look. Oh, fuck it. I tried. Corey gave up and just stood as he saw that the smiley was now 1 meter close to Ayumanox. Just when he thought this was the end for Ayumanox, he heard the sound of a gun being shot. Corey looked and was confused since the last time the founder shot the black smiley. It did nothing to it, so he was wondering what would happen differently now. And just as he wondered, instead of a tiny bullet or projectile which was meant to be shot, he saw a streak of golden light, and when it got to the head of the black smiley, splat! Bam! Holy shit! Corey spoke with awe as he looked at the headless body of the black smiley, which had fallen on the floor. Its head was destroyed like a sledgehammer been used on a watermelon. Just as Corey was looking at the body of the revenant, he saw the founder walk towards it while absent-mindedly muttering something. He could not hear it, but he could feel a very dangerous air around him, which made him have minus 100 thoughts of speaking with him at the moment. Just as Corey was watching the founder, he heard a soft cough. Corey turned and saw Ayumanox looking at him with a slightly embarrassed expression. Thanks for the warning back there, Ayumanox said while stretching his hand out for a handshake. Corey, finding nothing wrong, shook it and gave his name. I'm Corey. Besides, I don't think you would have needed my help, Corey said, and looked at the founder who was kicking the dead body of the black smiley while still muttering something. Ayumanox looked at where Corey was looking, and when he saw the founder kicking the dead body of the black smiley, he sighed. Don't mind him. He'll get over it eventually, Ayumanox said, then removed his hand from the handshake. Corey, not wanting to ask what the founder would get over eventually, just tactfully remained silent. Anyway, let me introduce you to my group, the Big Five. Anyway, let me introduce you to my group, the Big Five. The Big Five. Corey had a confused expression after hearing Ayumanox's words. Ayumanox, seeing his confused expression, pointed at the founder. That's the founder. When the apocalypse happened, he was the one that found all of us and decided to form our group, and because of that, he calls himself the founder. Ayumanox then pointed at Zelenus, who was walking towards them. That's Zelenus. He's the knight and guardian of our group. Corey looked at Zelenus, and the more he looked at him, the more he realized that he had a heroic expression. Despite what Corey thought, Ayumanox continued. He pointed at Friedhelm Roxa, who had stopped flying and was walking towards them. That's Friedhelm Roxa. You could just call him Roxa. He's our eyes in the sky and also our archer. Corey looked at Roxa, and Roxa nodded at him, causing Roxa to nod back. I wish I had the ability to fly, Corey thought, then heard Ayumanox speak. The fourth person is... Where is he? Corey looked at Ayumanox and found him looking around with slight confusion for a few seconds before he gave up and spoke with a frustrated tone and expression. Hey, blank blank, where are you? Just as Corey was wondering who blank blank was, he heard a soft voice beside him that spooked the shit out of him. I'm here. Corey jumped back in fright and looked to his right where he saw a short boy with white hair and dead eyes. He realized the boy the moment he saw him. He was the boy who he could not keep track of no matter how much he tried. Where the fuck did you come from? Corey asked, and the boy looked at him with dead eyes and spoke softly. Sorry. He then looked away and turned to Ayumanox and spoke. You called? Ayumanox looked at him with twitching lips, then looked at Corey. Sorry about that. Blank blank does that a lot, Ayumanox said, and blank blank argued with a soft tone. I didn't do anything. I was always here. You didn't just see me. Ayumanox turned towards him, but after thinking about it, he decided not to reply. He turned towards Corey and spoke. These are all the members of the Big Five, including me. After Ayumanox spoke, Corey looked at the 5 members of the weird group once again, and although he had questions to ask, like why do they have weird names? And how come he never heard of them before in the academy? But knowing that whether he knew the answers to those questions or not, it would have no effect on him. Realizing that he had nothing else to do with this group, Corey decided to take his leave. It was nice meeting you guys, but I have to leave, Corey said, and was about to leave, but then he stopped after hearing Ayumanox's words. Oh, no problem. Are you going to meet the merchant? Corey turned back and looked at Ayumanox with a confused expression. Who? He asked. Ayumanox, seeing Corey's confused expression, had a surprised expression. You don't know the merchant? He questioned with surprise, and Corey shook his head. Wow. Well, it's possible that you don't know him since it's not everybody that would have met him. Ayumanox muttered before he looked at Corey and explained, causing Corey to no longer be ignorant. The merchant is a trader that stays in front of the auditorium at the center of the academy. He sells a lot of stuff and also information. That's where you can get information on so many things like your status window and even the apocalypse, but you'll have to pay to get those information. Nothing is free with that bastard. Also make sure you get a contract so that he won't cheat you. The founder figured that out and always uses a contract whenever he wants to buy stuff from him. Most don't know. It's only cause you saved my life I'm telling you this. Corey looked at Ayumanox with surprise. He could not believe there was a place like that where he could get information that had been on his mind ever since the apocalypse started. Did Kyle know about the merchant? Corey thought, but later shrugged it off. It didn't matter to him whether Kyle did or not since he never asked him. Thank you. Corey thanked Ayumanox, cause he might have been ignorant about the existence of the merchant even after he left the academy. In fact, when he thought about leaving the academy, a thought came to his mind. Why didn't I ever think of leaving the academy immediately? Corey looked at Ayumanox and thought about asking him whether he knew if people have left the academy. Hey, Ayumanox. He decided to ask. Ayumanox, who thought Corey was about to leave, was surprised that Corey called him. Do you know if anybody has left the academy? Or if it's safe to leave the academy? Corey asked and waited for Ayumanox's reply with his heart beating faster than normal. His answer determined how long or if he would be able to go back home. Meanwhile, Ayumanox's gaze darkened slightly when he heard Corey's question, and despair flashed in his eyes for a second before he spoke. I'm not sure if anybody was able to leave the academy, but leaving the academy is not safe at all. In fact, the academy gate is the most dangerous place I know of in the academy. Ayumanox paused, then continued. All of us at one point in time try to go to the academy gates, but when we went there, we felt fear just when we're at least 200 m away from the gate. We had never felt like that before, and we felt that if we moved closer to the gate, we would definitely die, so we had to run away. All of us has seen a Tier 1 being, but we were not that afraid. This one, we think, is higher than Tier 1. We asked the merchant about how strong the thing at the gate was, but the price he wanted was too high for us, so we could not pay for it. Corey shook slightly hearing that, and his mind could not help but wonder what kind of fucked up situation they were in. He took in deep breaths to calm himself down and then looked up with determination in his eyes. No matter what, I'm going home. Nothing, absolutely nothing will stop me. Corey thought, then bowed his head slightly at Ayumanox. Thanks for all the information you've given me. Ayumanox was surprised since to him he didn't do much, but not wanted to waste a man's thanks, he replied. No problem. If you get to the merchant, you can also get this information. Ayumanox said, and Corey nodded once again. He was about to say his goodbye and leave, but Ayumanox stopped him once again. Wait, Corey. I want to give you something. Ayumanox said, then ran to the black smiley, which almost killed him. Corey was confused and curious about what Ayumanox wanted to do, especially when he saw him dissecting the body of the black smiley. Although he took longer than Corey in dissecting the black smiley, he didn't spend too long. Running back towards Corey, he stretched out his hand, which had the black smiley's soul stone, and spoke. Take this soul stone. I would have given you the skill crystal, but I need it. It's beneficial for me. Corey looked at Ayumanox in surprise and slight shock. Won't the soul stone be beneficial for you? Corey asked. It will, but not that much. The level is around mine, so it wouldn't give me much stats besides if not, because you warn all of us, I will be dead. So take it, Ayumanox said, then placed the soul stone in Corey's right hand, not giving him a chance to refuse. Corey looked at the soul stone, which was in his right hand, before looking at Ayumanox. Thanks a lot. I wouldn't forget this favor. Corey thanked him once again, and Ayumanox smiled. Don't mention it. Besides, when you hear our name, the Big Five, come visit us when you're free. Ayumanox said with a smile, causing Corey to smile in response. Later, Corey gave his goodbye, then his body swayed, and he ran opposite the building he was staying at. Although he didn't sense any malicious intent from Ayumanox and the remaining members of the group, he didn't want people to know he was staying there, since it was much safer for him the less people knew about his hideout. After running for a few minutes while taking a few twists and turns, Corey found a broken-down building and jumped into it through the window, landing perfectly inside the room. He checked the room to see if it was safe. Finding nothing, he sat on the floor and brought out the soul stone of the Black Smiley. When he brought it out, he held it on his right hand, and 3 seconds later, a translucent screen hovered over his right hand, and Corey looked at it to see the level of the Black Smiley. Soul Stone of a level 55 Tier 0 Dark Revenant identified. Do you want to absorb? Absorb. Corey gave the order, and an orange glow spread out from his right hand onto the Soul Stone. The next moment, he felt more energy rush into him than he had ever felt before. He also felt something different in this energy. He could not explain it, but it just felt magical. He tried to focus on it and observe this feeling in his body. He closed his eyes and just as felt that he was on the cusp on feeling that sensation better. He felt pain in his body. He ignored the pain since this was nothing to him considering his high level of pain resistance and also the number of times he had died painful deaths in the library of records. But a few seconds later, the pain became much and almost unbearable. He had a feeling that if he continued, he might get into an extremely bad situation which he would eventually regret, so stopped. After he stopped, he opened his eyes and looked at his body. But the moment he did, his eyes opened wide and he exclaimed, "What the fuck happened to me?" He could see minute amounts of blood seeping out from different parts of his body. His mind then went to the time he was feeling the pain he wanted to ignore even though he felt that something was wrong. Now, seeing his body, he realized that he made the right decision in not ignoring the pain. Is it because of what I was feeling? Corey thought, then looked at his body once again. He noticed that his body was healing, although at a slow speed, due to his superhuman constitution. Seeing the speed of his healing, Corey guessed that it would take him maybe 2 or 3 days to fully heal since the injury was not serious, at least from what he could see. Corey then decided to pull up his status window and see how much stronger he had become since he felt a lot stronger. Basic information. Name, Corey Jr. Zane. Race, human. Brand level, 2. Affiliation, none. Class, none. Talent, omniscience, unawakened. Language, English. Titles, one of the 4 possessors of a graded talent on planet New Earth. Tier 0, level 30-40, unawakened. Attributes, strength, 50-92. Agility, 40-69. Dexterity, 16-29. Constitution, 40-95. Intelligence, 300. Endurance, 40-56. Mana, 0. Free A.P. 30. Hidden attributes. Luck, /100. Charisma, /100. Wisdom, /. Skills. Record talent skill. Danger sense, level 1. Silent steps, level 1. Night vision, unranked. Super jump, LV2. Resistances. Fear resistance, LV1. Pain resistance, LV3. Equipments. Ghost Reaper, red grade. Ghost Cloak, red grade. Pet /mount, none. System remark. You're so weak that the mana in a Tier 0 Soul Stone could not be absorbed by you and was instead used to strengthen your strength and constitution. Can you be any more weaker? Basic information. Name, Corey Jr. Zane. Race, human. Brand level, 2. Affiliation, none. Class, none. Talent, omniscience, unawakened. Language, English. Titles, one of the 4 possessors of a graded talent on planet New Earth. Tier 0, level 30-40, unawakened. Attributes, strength, 50-92. Agility, 40-69. Dexterity, 16-29. Constitution, 40-95. Intelligence, 300. Endurance, 40-56. Mana, 0. Free A.P. 30. Hidden attributes. Luck, /100. Charisma, /100. Wisdom, /. Skills. Record talent skill. Danger sense, level 1. Silent steps, level 1. Night Vision, unranked. Super Jump, LV2. Resistances, Fear Resistance, LV1. Pain Resistance, LV3. Equipments, Ghost Reaper, red grade. Ghost Cloak, red grade. Pet Slash Mount, none. System Remark, you're so weak that the mana in a Tier 0 Soul Stone could not be absorbed by you and was instead used to strengthen your strength and constitution. Can you be any more weaker? As Corey looked at his status window, he was gobsmacked, like literally gobsmacked. He had no words to say when he saw the huge increase in his strength and constitution. As Corey was wondering why he had such a huge increase in his strength and constitution, he saw the system's remark. Ignoring the system's snarky remark, focused on the meaning of what the system was telling him. So what I was feeling previously was mana? Corey muttered as he read the system's remark once again. Seeing that the reason he could not completely get that feeling was because he was weak made him wonder when he would be strong enough. Another thing he noticed, which has been bothering him for quite some time now, was that his intelligence did not increase once again. Ever since he reached level 29 and his intelligence reached 300, it did not increase no matter what. He tried adding a free attribute point to it, but he got a warning from the universal system telling him, should he do it, that he had a 98% chance of dying, which shocked and scared the shit out of him. He asked the universal system why, but since the universal system was a useless system, it didn't respond to him, leaving Corey to be extremely worried about his life. Now that he saw his stagnating intelligence, even after absorbing the soul stone of a black smiley, he was beginning to get worried that his intelligence would be forever stagnated. Should my intelligence really be stagnating even though my talent is omniscience? Corey muttered, then remembered the merchant Ayumanox told him about. He had questions he needed answers to, and hopefully the merchant had answers to those questions. Guess I'm going to the merchant. Corey stood, then walked to the broken window of the room. He looked down to make sure it was safe. Seeing no smiley or danger, he jumped down and ran back to his hideout. Although he wanted to meet the merchant as quickly as possible, he needed to do something first. Gain more combat experience. Corey did not believe that he didn't need more combat experience just because he could fight lots and lots of Adai-controlled smileys. In fact, he would be a total fool if he thought he didn't need any more combat experience with just that. Right now to Corey, his biggest gain in the battle between the Big Five and the group of Smileys was not the Soul Stone of the Black Smiley, but the records of all three Black Smileys, and even the records of the Big Five. He didn't care how long he would spend to gain enough combat experience, but he was not going to meet the merchant until his combat experience increased by leaps and bounds, or something forced him to stop. Corey's eyes shined, and his heart began to beat faster thinking of the improvement he would gain. So he increased his speed, not knowing that he was slowly turning to a battle maniac, or to be more specific, one that enjoys growing stronger. Roar. Bang. Shut the fuck up for fuck's sake. Why do you all just like to roar every time? Can't you speak words? Roar. Bang. Words. Repeat after me. WRDS. Words. Speak words, don't roar. Roar. Bang. Oh, forget it. You're just stupid like the universal system. Just as you may be wondering who would be having such a weird conversation with a monster like that. Who else would it be if not Corey? Corey, in his tattered ghost cloak, stood a few meters away from, shockingly, a black smiley with a battle axe. One would ask, how come Corey was talking while in combat? After promising himself that he would not talk like how those third-rate villains do in combat, especially when he was in combat with a monster whose stats and level were way higher than his. Well, it was because Corey learned another lesson in the past 3 days. Dying one too many times could make a person run mental, especially when you die to the same thing over and over again. Corey, in a library of records, has tried to fight against the three black smileys the group of five faced, but he obviously lost since their stats were way higher than his. He could accept that, but what he could not accept was that no matter how much he tried, no matter how many strategies he used, he could not defeat the Founder, even once. Once. Whenever Corey had a chance to defeat the Founder, the annoying guy would bring out a fucking gold coin, absorb it, and fucking kill him. If a gold coin was not enough, he would absorb too, and Corey had zero chance against that. It was frustrating to the point that Corey legit almost died out of anger in the Library of Records. After realizing he would gain nothing from fighting the Founder, Corey fought Zelenus, and honestly, that was the fight where Corey gained a lot of combat experience. Zelenus was extremely proficient in the sword. You would think Zelenus as a knight would be more like a tank, but nope. Zelenus was more like a swordsman, a very talented swordsman. Corey had a hard time defeating him, but he gained a lot, and he believed his dagger-wielding skills had certainly improved, at least to a point. Now, after spending 3 days doing nothing but eating, fighting, and dying in the Library of Records, Corey started to feel like his mental health was slowly deteriorating, so he decided to come out and look for the merchant instead. He didn't expect to meet a black smiley on his way to the merchant, but he was happy. In fact, very happy. He felt he could transfer a lot of his pent-up anger and frustration onto the black smiley. And let's just say he had been doing so. If one looked at the black smiley's body, they would see dagger cuts on various parts of the body, especially the back. All right, let's finish this. I have somewhere to be. It was nice talking to you. You really helped me, so thank you and goodbye. After Corey finished speaking his nonsensical words, he ran to the Axe Black Smiley. The Axe Black Smiley roared in anger and ran towards Corey while raising up its axe, wanted to cut the annoying ant in front of it into two. Corey, who was running, threw Smile Reaper with frightening accuracy at the eye of the Black Smiley, and the Black Smiley, not expecting that since Corey never did that throughout their fight, was not able to react. Roar! The Black Smiley roared in pain as Smile Reaper pierced inside his eye, causing Corey to frown. Too noisy, Corey, he said, then flicked his wrist. Smile Reaper, which was embedded in the Black Smiley's eye, flew out, drawing out blood. Corey, who was still running towards the Black Smiley, caught Smile Reaper, which had a string attached to it. Just as he got close to Black Smiley, the Black Smiley, resisting the pain it was going through, held its axe with 2 hands and slashed it down towards the incoming Corey. Surprise flashed in Corey's eyes seeing that, but been no longer a novice in combat. He did not panic and did what he thought was best. He stopped and jumped back. Bang! Stones and dust scattered all around as the ground where the axe of the Black Smiley got destroyed. Corey, seeing that, realized that not trying to parry or block the attack was a very good decision on his part, but despite that, what Corey saw was a chance in his eyes. Super Jump. Corey used the skill Super Jump, not to its full extent though, and jumped towards the Black Smiley. The Black Smiley, seeing Corey jump toward it, grabbed his axe and wanted to slash at Corey. Corey, seeing that, quickly threw Smile Reaper towards the last good eye of the Black Smiley. The Black Smiley, seeing the incoming dagger, tried to move its head, but just as it did, Corey turned his wrist, and due to his superhuman dexterity, he was able to control the string attached to Smile Reaper, causing it to swerve and pierce the last good eye of the Black Smiley. Roar! The Black Smiley roared in pain, and Corey, still in the air, landed on the shoulders of the towering Black Smiley. Grabbing Smile Reaper from its eye, he spoke. I said you're making too much noise. Spurt. Corey stabbed the head of the Black Smiley, causing it to fall, and Corey to jump away and land some centimeters away from it. Corey sighed after seeing the Black Smiley not make any sudden movement. Then he moved towards the Black Smiley, wanting to remove its soul stone. But just as he did, he heard a sound. Clap, clap, clap. Wonderful. Truly magnificent fighting skills. What is your name, young boy? Corey turned back instantly while gripping Smile Reaper horizontally in front of his face. He looked for where the sound came from, but he didn't see anybody or anything. Just as he was wondering if he had finally gone crazy, he heard the same voice again. I'm up here, boy. Corey looked up and saw a man with white hair and neck chain sitting on the roof of a building nearby. Who are you? Corey asked with a cold and wary tone. Me? I'm the merchant. The man with white hair grinned, and the blue around him causing his pendant to blow along with it. Me? I'm the merchant. Corey looked at the man who claimed to be the merchant with suspicion. He could not identify whether the man was actually the merchant or not since Iuminox didn't describe his appearance to him. Although Corey did not know how the merchant looked like, he had a way to figure out his identity. Record. Corey activated his talent skill to see the name and level of the suspicious man in front of him, but when he willed for his talent skill to be activated, he saw nothing on his left eye. Corey exclaimed, subconsciously making the merchant to think he had never heard about him. "You've not heard about me, young boy?" The merchant asked with surprise in his tone. He expected Corey to have heard from him since his shop was located near this place, and most people who come here are people who look for him. Meanwhile, Corey, still confused about the reason for his ability not working, willed for it again. Record. Corey tried again, but he got nothing in response, which caused him a frown. Is it broken? Corey thought, but later dismissed that absurd thought. Can a skill ever be broken? Corey then tried to think of what could be wrong, or what could make Record not respond to him. He then turned towards the man who claimed to be the merchant. Is it because of him? Just as Corey had this thought, the merchant, seeing Corey look at him with a confused expression, became sure that the young man had never heard of him before. Knowing this, his eyes shined. Fresh prey. He cleared his throat and mind after this thought entered his mind, and then put on an amicable smile. Since you've not heard of me, I'm the merchant and I'm a trader. I sell different goods and also information. Anything you want, I have, and as long as you pay the right price, you can get it. The merchant paused, then looked at Corey, who had a dazed look in his eyes. And, you're shocked about my words, right? All your valuables will be mine. The merchant thought evilly, not knowing that the reason for Corey's dazed reaction as he looked at the merchant was not because he was stunned by the merchant's words. No, it was because Corey just remembered the description of his talent skill. Record. Record. A passive skill which records everything in front of your eyes into your brain. You can view the recorded events anytime and the skill analyses the stats of anybody as long as the difference in tier is not greater than 1. The longer the time of record, the more detailed the statistics of the individual. As Corey remembered the description down the last, he suddenly realized why his record ability was not working. It was because the man in front of him was higher than tier 1. This was the main reason for Corey's dazed expression. The highest being or beings he had faced were tier 1 beings, but now he was facing somebody who was probably a tier 2 being or higher. Just the thought of it made Corey to gulp subconsciously. Meanwhile, the merchant, already thinking of ways to rip off Corey, spoke. So, young boy, will you follow me to my shop? Corey looked at the merchant who invited him to his shop and nodded his head in response. He currently did not have any doubts that this man was the merchant, because he didn't believe that there was somebody in their academy who was already higher than tier 1. And if there was, the person was a cheat. The merchant, oblivious to Corey's thoughts, smiled an amicable smile and jumped down from the building. He looked at Corey with a smile, then spoke. Come on then, follow me. The merchant turned to walk, but then stopped after Corey replied. I'm not going yet. I've not gotten my soul stone from Black Smiley. The merchant turned and looked at Corey with a baffled look. Black Smiley. Corey just pointed at Black Smiley's corpse, causing the merchant to be stunned. Well, it is black and also smiles. The merchant muttered, then looked at Corey, who walked to the corpse, then started dissecting it. Is giving the monsters weird names his way of coping with the apocalypse? The merchant muttered as he observed Corey cut open the Black Smiley's chest precisely and better than some people he had seen outside of this world. At least his way of coping is better than most. The merchant thought, then rested his back on the wall of a building as he watched Corey dissect the corpse. Using more than 2 minutes to dissect the corpse because the anatomy of the Black Smiley was different from a normal one, Corey finally pulled out its soul stone. Just as Corey was about to put the soul stone inside his bag, he saw something red beside the body of the Black Smiley. He moved closer to see what it was, and then he saw the object, which had a red glow on it. It was a pair of fingerless gloves. They were black gloves with a design of a red, creepy, open smile at the palm of the fingerless gloves, while the fingers of the gloves had white skeleton fingers designs at the back of the gloves. The gloves looked ominous in Corey's eyes. But despite it looking ominous, Corey picked it up with his right hand and waited for the universal system to tell him what it is. Red grade growth item identified. Do you want to obtain ownership? As Corey looked at the notifications on the translucent screen, he noticed a different word which he had not seen before. Growth item? Corey wondered, then looked at the merchant who was still waiting for him. Guess I'll just ask him later. Corey thought, then gave the order to obtain ownership. The moment he accepted to obtain ownership of the gloves glowed red for a few seconds before receding entirely, and it became like a normal glove that just had creepy designs. Corey picked it up and wore the gloves, then pulled up his status window. He looked at the equipment section, then looked at the new addition. Equipments. Ghost Reaper, red grade. Ghost Cloak, red grade. Ghost Gloves, red grade growth item. Corey tapped on Ghost Gloves to see the definition. Ghost Gloves, a growth item that has the ability to harm ghost-like entities that are not above Tier 1, and also provides good grip on objects. Corey's eyes widened as he saw the description. The Ghost Gloves was in Corey's eyes better than Ghost Reaper. Ghost Gloves could harm ghost-like entities that were not above Tier 1, but Ghost Reaper could only kill ghost-like entities below Tier 1. Not only that, Ghost Gloves was a growth item, which if Corey guessed correctly, could increase in grade. It was an item Corey was satisfied with. Corey looked at Smile Reaper in his hand, then frowned. He could see a few chips and nicks on it. I'll need a weapon. Although it saddened him that he would eventually stop using Smile Reaper, since it was his first weapon, he had already decided long ago to get a different kind of weapon if possible, since he was starting to see the disadvantages in using a dagger. But all of that was for the future. Corey pocketed Smile Reaper and put the soul stone in his bag after putting in his mind to look for a new weapon if possible. He got up and looked at the merchant who was yawning. I'm ready, let's go, Corey said, and the merchant at first startled, but then clapped with joy. Great, let's go, the merchant said, and walked with Corey following behind. So what exactly do you want, young boy? The merchant asked with a harmless smile as he sat on the chair behind his stall, his eyes looking like a predator observing its prey. Meanwhile, Corey, looking at the stall, looked at the merchant with slight suspicion and confusion. If not because of his record ability not working, he would definitely not believe that the man in front of him was the merchant, because the stall looked like the type of stall a 10-year-old kid would make for a lemonade stand with a signboard on top saying lemonade, but instead, for the merchant, it was the merchant. Although Corey knew that the man in front of him was very likely the merchant, there was something he was curious about as he looked at the stall, which had nothing but the merchant and the stall itself. Where are the goods you sell? Corey asked, and the merchant chuckled. That's always the first question you lot ask. I have so many goods on me that if I were to bring them out, it would fill 5 of your auditoriums. Corey raised an eyebrow and looked at the auditorium that was not far from their location. It was a giant building that could take at least 5,000 students, and he was meant to believe the merchant had so many goods that it would fill 5. Corey definitely did not believe that nonsense. And the merchant, seeing that, smiled. He was definitely lying, since there was no way he would have that much goods on him, but whether he was lying or not, it would subconscious make the person want to stay and test whether he was truly saying the truth. A trick he learnt, since he knew most humans were generally a curious race. I don't care if you're lying or not. I need some things. Most importantly, information. Corey said, causing the merchant to be satisfied in his heart. A down-to-business type of guy. Me likey. The merchant said, causing Corey to take a step back and look at the merchant cautiously. I don't swing that way. Don't likey me. Corey said, causing the merchant to smile, a charming smile at him, giving Corey goosebumps. Is he gay? Removing that thought from his head, he decided to ask the questions that had been on his mind for quite some time now. I have some questions regarding the status window, Corey said, and the merchant nodded his head. How does somebody become Tier 1? What are tiers? The merchant, hearing the question, smiled. He stretched out his hand and opened his palm. 5 bronze coins. Corey raised an eyebrow in surprise hearing that. He expected it to be more expensive. He had quite a lot of bronze coins and silver coins on him, so he reached into his bag, removed 5 bronze coins, and gave it to the merchant. The bronze coins disappeared from the merchant's hands, causing Corey to have an expression of curiosity. The merchant's eyes shined seeing that, so he spoke. I can tell you how I did that. You just have to pay. Corey looked at the merchant with a suspicious look. How much? He asked. 10 bronze coins. The merchant said with a harmless smile, and Corey frowned. He felt that something was wrong, but since the money was not too much in his opinion, he paid for it, causing the merchant to smile a smile of happiness. Wonderful. Your payment has been received. The merchant said, then cleared his throat. Somebody becomes Tier 1 after they reach level 100. Tier basically means evolution. You get class in Tier 1, and you become a higher level being after reaching Tier 1. This continues as you advance to higher tiers. The merchant said, and Corey became slightly stunned hearing that. One had to reach level 100 to become Tier 1. He was just level 40. He was not even close to Tier 1 at all. Corey groaned, then thought of the soul stones in his bag. Should I just absorb them to become closer to Tier 1? Corey thought, then looked at the merchant. He had a feeling that something was wrong with the merchant, or to be more precise, he felt that something was wrong with the information the merchant gave him and that he was forgetting something important, but he shoved the feeling to the back of his mind when the merchant continued speaking. As for how I made the coins to disappear, I just placed them in my inventory. The merchant said, causing Corey to be confused. Inventory? Corey asked, and the merchant smiled. 15 bronze coins. He said, then outstretched his hand while looking at Corey with a harmless smile. Corey looked at him silently for a few seconds before he reached into his bag and brought out 15 bronze coins and gave it to the merchant. Your payment has been received, the merchant said with a smile, and Corey just looked indifferently at him. An inventory is a separate space where one can keep their items, the merchant said with a smile, and Corey looked at him with a dead look. How can I get an inventory? He asked slowly and calmly, but the merchant still with his smile replied. That's 10 silver coins, and so that you won't waste your time. The price to get an inventory is 1 gold coin, but I'll give you a discount, and you can give me the soul stone of that awakened dark revenant you just killed. A fair price, I must say. Corey looked at the merchant with a dead gaze for quite some time before he spoke in an extremely calm but dangerous tone. I want a contract. The merchant, who had a smile, looked at Corey with a dazed look. He thought he heard wrong. No, he must have heard wrong. Not just anybody knew about the system contract in this academy. Except, meanwhile, Corey looked at the merchant and spoke calmly. I want a contract. The merchant looked at him, his smile totally gone, and a look of hostility appeared in his eyes. Who told you? He asked dangerously. Corey just tilted his head while having a questioning expression in response. I said, who the fuck told you about the contract? Is it that money-loving bastard in a suit? The merchant gritted his teeth in anger while looking at Corey, but Corey, unperturbed, spoke calmly once again. I want a contract. If you don't give me, trust me, I will run around and tell everybody in this academy that you're a rip-off and a cheat. That if they ever want to do business with you, they must get a contract. I will also tell them to spread the word to every single person. Corey threatened, and the merchant looked at him with hatred. You wouldn't dare. He threatened, trying to scare Corey into changing his mind, but Corey, without a word, turned around and started walking away. The merchant's eyes widened seeing that, and he quickly shouted, Young boy, no wait, young handsome man. Come back. We can negotiate some things. Corey stopped, then turned back and said only 2 words. My contract. The merchant, seeing his unwavering express, gritted his teeth while simultaneously cursing the founder a zillion times, finally complied. Fine, we'll sign a system contract. Saying that, he stretched out his right hand, and a translucent screen hovered over his hand. He grumbled and muttered a few things Corey could not hear for a few seconds before he looked at Corey and asked a question. You? What's your name? Corey looked at him suspiciously, and the merchant, seeing that, was frustrated. I need to put down your name in the contract for fuck's sake. Corey shrugged hearing that and spoke. Name's Corey. The merchant grunted, turned around and muttered. Sounds like an ingredient. As soon as Corey heard that, his eyes became cold and he spoke with an extremely cold and dangerous tone. It seems you want everybody to know you're a fraud. The merchant, hearing that, had a panicked expression, and he quickly apologized. All right. Calm down, calm down. It's a joke. Just a joke. The merchant said, and Corey looked at the merchant coldly, but didn't say anything or do anything in response. The merchant, seeing that, released a breath of relief and continued working on the contract. A few minutes later, the merchant looked at Corey and spoke with reluctance. Come, read the contents, then prick your finger or whatever and let a drop of your blood come out. Corey raised an eyebrow, then walked towards the merchant and read the contents on the translucent screen. A few minutes later, he moved away from the translucent screen, then closed his eyes for a few seconds before he opened them back while looking straight at the merchant. There are a few things I want to change. The merchant looked at him with more hostility for a few seconds before speaking with restrained anger. Like what? Change. The merchant would be fair and not cheat when trading with the customer, Corey. The merchant would never lie and cheat when trading with the customer, Corey. The merchant is obligated to give a refund to the customer, Corey, anytime if cheated by the merchant. The merchant would never harm or steal from the customer, Corey, in any way or form as long as the customer, Corey, does not harm the merchant. The merchant would never sell defective goods and products to the customer, Corey. The merchant would never ban the customer, Corey, from my business unless the customer, Corey, harms the merchant in any way or form. That's all. Corey had a small smile after speaking, and the merchant looked like he had seen a ghost hearing Corey's words. Corey's proposed terms were like a sword stabbing into the merchant's heart and soul. The proposed terms removed any way for him to scam Corey or even cheat him in the future. And for the merchant, scamming and cheating was his way of life. This was absolutely unacceptable to the merchant. The merchant looked at Corey with so much hostility that if looks could kill, Corey would be dead a gazillion times, which frightened Corey slightly, because he knew that the man was higher than a tier 1. Just as Corey thought the merchant would shout, curse, and probably attack him in anger. The merchant calmed down and spoke with an extremely calm tone. You're absolutely worse than that greedy money-loving bastard. Corey knew who he was talking about, but he didn't care. He wanted information, and he wanted correct and complete information, not to be lied at and scammed. Doesn't matter to me. Agree to those new additions, then I would not go around telling people that you're a scam. Corey said, and the merchant's lips twitched. I'm not a scam. He tried to defend himself, but Corey, not giving two shits about what he thought of himself, cut him off, not bothering to listen to his words. I don't care. Just agree to the additions I gave, and let us trade. The merchant's lips twitched once again, then he agreed to the new additions set by Corey, since they were not actually bad. They just restricted him from scamming Corey until he found a loophole in the new additions. Finding nothing that would ruin his business in the contract, he brought out a needle from his inventory and pricked his finger, drawing out his blood. Corey, seeing that, used Smile Reaper to prick his finger, drawing out his blood. After Corey did that, a translucent screen appeared in front of him asking him if he accepts the contents of the contract. Corey said he accepts, and the merchant said he also accepts. The blood from both of them glowed in a white light, then disappeared. After it disappeared, Corey could feel some sort of connection with the merchant. The merchant, having an unhappy expression, looked at Corey and asked, "So what do you want to know?" And Corey's eyes began to shine. /in. This is the normal chapter for March 1st, and with this, I no longer have any chapter I'm owing you guys. It was not easy and it took longer than I expected, but I did it. At first, I wanted this chapter to be the last chapter where Corey plans on getting information from the merchant, but I don't know, I just kept on writing, and by the time I knew it, the chapter was already long enough. Next chapter is the last, the merchant chapter, which would explain a few things which would normally be info dump, but I don't plan on making an info dump like most do. I'll try to make it funny. Hopefully I can. Also, I plan on starting the plot of Volume 1 after the merchant chapter. You can vote now, by the way. So please don't forget to vote. We're just 5 power stones away from 1 bonus chapter. Keep those power stones coming, people, and I will provide the bonus chapters. Also, thank you to all the people that transferred from Single Wish or just joining and reading this book. I'm truly grateful and happy seeing the collections rise to 25 in just one day. I was worried it would take me time to reach up to that number, or even close to 20. So, thank you so much, everybody, even for just reading my book. I really appreciate it. Have a great day/night. So what do you want to know? The moment the merchant asked that question, Corey's eyes shined, and this time, he had the look of a hunter looking at its prey. First question. How much is the actual price of the questions I asked previously? Corey asked, and the merchant had a look of reluctance and pain. He wanted to lie, but he felt his head throb in pain, which was a warning from the universal system for trying to breach the contract. With a reluctant tone, he spoke. 1 bronze coin. Corey had a look of confusion hearing the merchant's reply. He thought he heard it wrong. No, he must have heard it wrong, Corey thought, while also thinking of him having to clean his ears one of these days. Not hearing properly could have very terrible effects. Just as Corey was deluding himself about what he heard, the merchant spoke softly. I said everything was 1 bronze coin. Corey looked at the merchant with the blankiest of looks and spoke slowly and calmly. So the price for the information about tears was 1 bronze coin. You actually asked 2 questions, so it was 2 bronze coins. The merchant tried to defend himself, but when he saw Corey's gaze become colder, he gulped and kept quiet. Corey looked at the merchant with an extremely cold gaze before he spoke. From now on, I ask what I want, and you just give me answers. You can lie, by the way. I'm curious about what would happen to you if you breached the contract. And without waiting for the merchant to reply, Corey continued. Explain fully how somebody becomes Tier 1 and what are tiers. Corey said, and the merchant instinctively replied. That's 2 bronze coins. Corey's eyes became colder, and with a cold and threatening tone, he spoke. Did you forget what I said? I asked. You give me my answer. Nothing more, nothing less. The merchant gritted his teeth in anger hearing and seeing Corey's cold tone and look. He was a fucking Tier 5 being, but just because of the rules of the universal system, he could not cause a single harm to any inhabitants of the planet unless they threatened his life. If not because of the contract by the universal system, he would have slapped Corey past his ancestors. He was such an infuriating bastard, especially when Corey was just a bloody non-awakened with below-average talent and mana. Just as the merchant was seething and cursing Corey and his ancestors, he heard Corey speak. Since you're not replying me, I can leave and tell everybody that you're a fraud without suffering the consequences. The merchant saw Corey turn around, and with panic, he quickly held him back. Stop. All right, I'll speak. Just don't ruin my fucking business. Corey turned back and looked at the merchant indifferently, without saying a word while folding his arms. The merchant cleared his throat, then spoke. I was not lying when I said to become Tier 1. You need to reach level 100. The thing is, after reaching level 100, you would have to undergo a test to reach Tier 1 in an evolution center. I also said that you would gain a class after reaching Tier 1. The universal system would give you a class based on the things you have done before reaching level 100. It would also give you a class based on the skills, talents, or even items you have. The better your achievements, skills, or items you have and made, the better the classes the universal system would give you. There's still more, but if I told you everything about tiers, we would spend the entire day here. The merchant finished speaking while having a pained expression and also wailing internally. I made a loss. A very big loss. Information this much I would normally sell for 20 bronze coins, but because of this bastard, I only sold it for 1. My precious contribution points. Corey, unperturbed by the murderous stare the merchant was giving him, pondered for a few seconds before he asked another question with an indifferent expression. Is there an evolution center here in the academy? The merchant blinked hearing the question and was silent for a few seconds before the pain he felt in his head forced him to speak. There is none. Corey's indifferent expression broke, and he had an expression of shock hearing the merchant's reply. What do you mean none? How can there not be an evolution center here in the academy, especially when there's a monster that's probably stronger than Tier 1 at the academy gates? How do we now leave the academy? Corey shouted with an expression of disbelief. At first, he didn't want to ask if there was an evolution center in the academy, since he believed that there should be one, especially when there was an extremely powerful monster at the academy gates. But hearing there was none made Corey curse. Just what sort of fucked up situation were they in? Meanwhile, the merchant, seeing Corey's agitated, smiled with glee and shrugged indifferently. I don't know how you're meant to leave the academy, and it's not my problem. The academy is not the only place like this. There are various places facing the same issue, the merchant said while gloating in his heart. Karma's a bitch fool. While the merchant was laughing madly in his heart, Corey spoke. Then how we get a tier 1? The merchant tilted his head and had a confused expression. He replied with a smile. You go to an evolution center and take the test dash. Bang! Are you a bastard? Corey slammed the merchant's stall with his fist and spoke with an extremely cold tone. The merchant chuckled. Feeling in control, he spread out his arms and spoke. Don't get angry at me, young boy. I didn't cause any of this. I dash. Answer the damn question. How do we now get a tier 1, and don't you dare play tricks on me, or I'm walking away for real. Corey threatened, and the merchant, seeing his gaze filled anger and coldness, made him realize that Corey would definitely do as he said. Realizing this, he spoke. When you reach level 100, the universal system will show you a map where various evolution centers are located. So you could choose to go there, but there is no evolution center here at all. So I don't know how you would reach tier 1 in the academy, and like I said, it's not my problem. Corey looked at the merchant for a few seconds before he exhaled softly, then inhaled. He straightened his back, folded his back, then, with an indifferent expression, he spoke. What is the use of the brand of universal system? The merchant, seeing him with an indifferent expression, laughed. Why are you having that face now? Are you trying to be in control? He laughed once again, but Corey just kept quiet and kept on looking at him indifferently. A few seconds later, the merchant had to stop his laugh because of the growing pain in his head. He grunted, then spoke with annoyance. The brand determines your level of authority and status. There are some things you cannot know or get unless your brand level is high enough. The color of your brand determines the level of your authority and status. It uses the colors of the rainbow per level, which means red for level 1, orange for level 2, yellow for level 3, green for level 4, and so on. Some levels of brands also come with some special features. Corey spent a few seconds in silence before he asked another question. Is the brand visible to everybody? Also, the translucent screen of a person's status window. Can everybody see it if the person left it open? The merchant blinked with slight surprise and confusion. Everybody that has the same level of brand can see each other's brand, but cannot see the brand of somebody with a higher level of brand. As for the status window question, as long as the person has a brand level higher than level 1, others would not be able to see it as long as they're not an expert. Corey nodded slightly, then asked another question. How does one increase their brand level? Increase your tier or complete missions that the universal system might give you. The merchant replied. Then his eyes moved towards Corey's right hand, but seeing a glove on both his hands, he retracted his eyes. It should just be a level 1 brand. The merchant thought, dismissing his curiosity about Corey's brand level. Corey saw the merchant's eyes go to his right hand and realized that the merchant tried to see the color of his brand. He didn't know what would happen if the merchant realized that he had a level 2 brand at his level, but he felt that it would lead to unwanted consequences. Thank God I got the gloves. Corey thought, then asked his next question. I see unranked in front of my level. What does that mean? Oh, it's because you've not reached level 50. Level 50 is where you become awakened and can finally feel mana, and your body starts to passively absorb mana. That is, if you've not absorbed it previously. The merchant said, and Corey paused for a few seconds. So, my mana stat would no longer be 0? Corey asked. Yes, it wouldn't be 0. But to control the mana actively and use skills that require mana, you would need an intelligence of at least 300 or a talent that will grant you a very high talent in mana control. The merchant replied, but his last words had a mocking and disdainful tone to it. He didn't believe that Corey would have an intelligence stat of 300 cents for that to happen. Corey would have to invest at least 95% of his free attribute points to intelligence, and from what the merchant has seen, Corey definitely did not do that. Oblivious to the merchant's thoughts, Corey was silent for a longer period of time before he spoke, asking another question. What is an unranked skill? I don't know and I don't care. Corey frowned and observed the merchant for a few seconds, but seeing no negative reactions from him made him to realize that he said the truth. Why is it that after absorbing the 4th soul stone of a normal smiley, I didn't gain any more bonus attribute point? Corey asked. So that your soul would be pure and you would not turn into one of them. At least that's what they told me. The merchant shrugged, then continued. You cannot gain any more bonus attribute point after absorbing the 4th same type of species. Also, the higher the level difference between your level and the level of the creature that you kill, the more bonus attribute points you gain. The merchant said, and Corey nodded slightly. Seems my decision to not absorb those soul stones was right. Corey thought, then another thought popped into his head. Wait, so does that mean that somebody who is, let's say, born from a powerful family could just keep on absorbing soul stones of different species? Won't their stats increase indefinitely? Corey asked, and the merchant looked surprised. Then he chuckled. Yes, that would happen, but everybody has a stat limit for each tier. So no matter how much soul stone somebody absorbs, they would eventually reach their limit for that tier, though that limit depends on their genes, body, talent, and a lot of other stuffs. Corey released a soft breath of relief hearing that because if there was no limit, then everything would be fucked up and unfair. All right, I have just one more question after my next question, Corey said, and the merchant nodded, signaling for Corey to get on with it. What are the grades of equipment, and do skills have grades also? The grades of equipment are the same as the color of the rainbow. Red, orange, yellow, and so on. Each grade has a specific name, but it's only when you have a grade 3 brand that it'll show. As for the skills, the universal system would not put any grade beside it unless it's at least a legendary grade skill. I don't know why, but it's like the universal system disdains to grade skills below legendary. As for what's after legendary, it's mythic, immortal, ancient, then divine grade. I don't know if there's something after divine grade, but I highly doubt it. So what's your last question? The merchant asked, and Corey asked the question that has been on his mind ever since he left the dormitory. I entered a building where whenever I opened a door in the building, it would lead to a different environment with different monsters. It did not only happen when I opened one door, but several doors. Explain to me what happened. Corey asked, and the merchant blinked. The number of coins I'm owing you cannot pay for this information. The merchant, not wanting to take a true loss, refused to give the information. Give me the information first, then I'll pay, Corey said, and the merchant just sighed with a frustrated tone. Fine. The building you entered is what people call a dungeon. It has other names, but people mainly call it a dungeon. It's in a way a place of fortune and also death. The monsters inside cannot leave until the universal system decides to remove the barrier that prevents them from leaving. Also, if a monster enters the dungeon from the outside, it would not be able to leave the dungeon until the barrier is removed. Why I said it's a place of fortune is because sometimes you can gain powerful items, treasures, skills, and sometimes legacies. It all depends on luck and if you can survive. Also, not everyone can enter every dungeon. There are some dungeons where there are specific requirements to who can enter. And that's all I can tell you about the dungeon. You're owing me 1 gold coin for that information. Make sure you pay in 1 month at most, or suffer the consequences. The merchant said, stunning Corey. 1 gold coin. Corey asked to be sure he heard right. 1 gold coin. The merchant nodded with a solemn look. If you don't pay, you'll see if you don't become my servant for life. The merchant thought. Don't worry, I'll pay. Corey took in a deep breath as he spoke. Although he did not have a gold coin yet, he believed he could get 1 in a month. Oh, if you enter one of the dungeons in this academy and you find a golden blood, please bring it to me and you won't have to pay the gold coin. I will even reward you handsomely if you do. Well, make sure you don't consume it. You'll die if you do. Just as Corey was about to ask what the merchant meant, his phone rang. Ring, 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 ring. Corey removed his phone from his pocket and looked at it with a curious expression. He thought it was his sister that called, but surprisingly, it was Kyle. He picked the call, then spoke. Yo, what's up? Are you level 50 yet? Kyle asked, getting straight to the point. Corey's mouth twitched. At least greet back, you bastard. Corey thought, then replied. I'm almost there. I'm level 40 right now. Corey said, that's good. Me and the group are leaving in 3 days. Will you follow? Kyle asked, and Corey, seeing nothing wrong with that, accepted. Sure, why not? Corey said, good. I'll be waiting. Kyle said, then ended the call, causing Corey to twitch his lips once again. Bastard. He looked at the merchant and saw that he had a slightly surprised expression. He didn't know the reason for that, but he didn't care. He needed a few things from the merchant. I want to buy some things, Corey said while his mind spun on how to mainly leave the school, not knowing that he had to survive the plan of his so-called friend Kyle first. Hell no, Kyle. Your plan is crazy. It's absolutely fucking batshit crazy. There's no way it would work. Inside a room in the academy cafeteria were 5 people. Kyle, Matt, Mac, Corey, and Mira sitting around a table. Currently, Corey was shouting and looking at Kyle like a madman. Kyle was calm. Matt and Mac had indifferent expressions, but Mira had a frown. Do not shout at the leader like that. You do not have the authority to do so, Mira said with a cold tone. Who the fuck cares about authority? Corey said, then looked at Matt, Mac, and then Mira. And why the fuck are you so calm? Didn't you hear his crazy plan? Corey said, and Matt snorted with disdain. Just shut fuck the up, you wuss. If you don't want to be part of the group, then beat it, Matt said with disdain clearly in his tone and gaze. You shut the fuck up, musclehead. What do you know? Even your brain is made out of muscles. Corey retorted and looked back at Matt with disdain. Bang! What the fuck did you just call me? Matt stood and slammed the table with anger, destroying the table in the process. I called you a motherfucking muscle-headed bastard. Go fuck your mother like other men while being an idiot at the same time, Corey said with disdain and even spat on the floor, causing Matt, Mac, and Mira to be stunned while Kyle just face-palmed and sighed. You bastard! Matt roared and ran towards Corey while unleashing his axe with a murderous expression on his face. But just as he was running, a calm voice filled with authority rang out in the room. Enough! A wind blew in the room, pushing Matt back a few steps to the back despite his strength. Matt looked at Kyle with a murderous stare, but Kyle with a calm and indifferent expression spoke. I said enough, Kyle said. Matt looked at Kyle for a few seconds before turning to Corey with intense killing intent. Giving a snort, he went out of the room while slamming the door with force, damaging the door slightly. Mac looked at Corey for a few seconds before he left the room also, following his brother Matt. The room was silent for a few seconds with Mira looking at Corey with disdain and hostility before Kyle sighed once more then spoke. Why didn't you control yourself, Corey? Corey looked at Kyle with a slightly apologetic expression. He scratched his head and spoke softly. I'm sorry about that. It's just that you know how I react if people try to demean me. Kyle lifted up his glasses and looked at Corey for a few seconds before shaking his head softly. Guess you've changed, Kyle thought. Kyle knew the type of person Corey was since they had been friends before they entered the academy. One might think that Corey was the type of person that was often bullied due to his somewhat short height and somewhat skinny physique, which was actually true. Corey was actually bullied and even mocked a few times, but the thing was that if a bully mocked Corey, Corey would curse and mock the person back with 1,000-fold intensity. Corey never allowed a bully to successfully mock him even once. Although he got trashed a few times, after humiliating the bullies with words in front of the whole class a few times, the bullies no longer tried to humiliate him ever again. This was the way Corey was until he entered the academy and started going through depression. No longer having the creativity or energy to mock, Corey became a very quiet and reserved person. Leader, I don't think we should take this boy with us, Mira said, clearly demeaning Corey by calling him boy. Who are you calling boy? Corey questioned with anger in his tone, and Mira looked at him with disdain. Are you not a boy? You're the only one worried about the leader's plan in the entire cafeteria. Can't you even man up? Mira said while eyeing Corey up and down with disdain. Why the fuck won't I be worried about Kyle's plan? He wants to leave the academy. All right, cool. But he wants us to go to the security station, which is most probably dangerous. Then he wants us to awaken the security's drones and androids so that they can fight the being at the academy gate while we use the chance to escape as they fight. How is that not a fucking crazy plan? Corey said with a loud tone. I don't know why you're so scared of the plan. You're just a coward, Mira said, while looking at Corey indifferently. Meanwhile, Corey felt like he was losing his damn mind hearing Myra's words. Rubbing his forehead to calm himself down, Corey spoke. How the fuck is it that I'm the only one that recognizes a major flaw in the plan? We don't know how powerful the thing that's at the gate is. What if it destroys the androids and drones before we can escape? What do we do then? How do we fucking escape and survive its wrath or whatever emotion it would have? Corey said, and Mira looked at him with a confused expression. Like I said, I don't know why you're so worried about the plan. Don't we have a leader? With him, anything is possible, Mira said, then looked at Kyle with an expression of adoration, worship, and love. Corey looked at Mira, then Kyle, who had his eyes closed with his arms folded. He looked back and forth between the two of them a few more times before he slumped and groaned. Another one taken by Mr. Handsome. Corey thought enviously, when will I no longer be a virgin? Just as Corey thought this, Kyle opened his eyes and looked at Mira. Mira, you can go. Let me try and convince Zane alone, Kyle said, and Mira, with obedience, nodded her head, then left. Kyle looked at Corey, who was still looking the way Mira left, then spoke. Zane. Corey looked at Kyle with a slightly absent-minded expression. I have a plan, so you don't have to be worried about the plan. It will be all right. Will you still follow? Kyle asked, and Corey woke up from his absent-mindedness and looked at Kyle with a blank look. So, this is your way of convincing me? It's not very convincing at all, Corey said, and Kyle shrugged. You know, I don't like speaking too much. He paused. So will you follow us tomorrow morning? Corey scratched his head for a few seconds before he groaned and spoke. Sure, why not? I can't abandon my friend, especially when there's a high chance of him dying. Kyle smiled and nodded. Thanks, he said. The room was silent for a minute before Corey looked at Kyle and struggled to speak. So, Kyle. Kyle, with his eyes closed, nodded, signaling that he was listening. You and Mira, are you like a thing? Corey asked, and Kyle opened his eyes and looked at Corey for a few seconds before he closed them back. You like her? Kyle asked, and Corey shook his head. I don't obviously. I just want sex, that's all. She has high sex appeal, so I just want to try my luck. Corey said, You can try. We're not a thing. She likes me, but I don't like her. We've only had sex. Kyle said indifferently, which did not surprise Corey. He knew Kyle was a fuck boy, a womanizer. Just as Corey stood to leave, Kyle spoke. Do you need my help? I can tell her to sleep with you once if you want, cause there's a high chance she won't agree to sleep with you. Kyle offered his help, and Corey shook his head. Don't worry, man. I got this. Let my charm do all the work. Corey said, and Kyle looked at him with his eyes opened. You have charm? How come I didn't notice? He asked sarcastically, and Corey just gave him the middle finger before leaving the room. Corey walked to the dining area of the cafeteria and looked for Mira. A few seconds later, Corey saw her eating alone at the far end of the cafeteria and walked toward her. Hey, Corey greeted as he took his seat in front of her. Mira looked up, wondering who would dare disturb her when she sat alone on this table. But just as she looked up and saw Corey, she hissed, then looked back at her food. Not wanting to see his ugly face, she spoke without looking at him. What do you want? Did Kyle give you a message to give me? Mira asked, then took a mouthful of her food. No, he did not. I just came here to apologize for my behavior and to tell you that I'm following you guys tomorrow, Corey said, and Mira looked up at Corey for an instant before focusing back on her food. You've apologized, and I've heard you. Now you can go, Mira said, clearly sending Corey away, but since Corey came here on a mission, he would not go empty-handed. Just wait, all right. Let's talk and get to know each other. We started off on the wrong foot, Corey said, and Mira looked at him with raised eyebrows. She stopped eating, leaned back on her chair, folded her arms, then spoke. All right, so what do you want to talk about? She asked. Let's talk about our wishes. What did you wish for? I wished for wisdom, Corey said, thinking that was a good topic to start off from, but boy, oh boy, was he wrong. Mira nodded her head repeatedly for a few seconds before she spoke. Well, I'm not surprised you wish for wisdom. People usually wish for what they don't have. Mira spoke, then stood. I'm leaving. I think I've lost my appetite. See you tomorrow. Make sure you don't chicken out, she said, then left, leaving Corey, who was still dazed. The next day, Corey and Kyle's survivors group left the cafeteria very early in the morning. With the group having increased their number to 50, they matched to the security station with every one of them been awakened, at least level 50. No Smiley or even Black Smiley dared to cross paths with them due to their immense numbers and above average levels. Meanwhile, Corey, who was in the middle of the group, felt uncomfortable, not because of danger. No, it was because the people around him were whispering to themselves a lot, and what they were talking about was Myra's insult towards him the previous night. Corey didn't know how everybody in the survivors group knew about it, but he had a guess on who spread the insult, and his guess was not on Myra, but on Matt or Mac. He felt that his relationship with Myra was not so bad that she would decide to humiliate him like that. The only person Corey felt had that much hatred towards him was Matt, and probably Mac. As they walked towards the security station, Corey could hear the people around him talking to their fellow friends or acquaintances, but none talked to him or even moved close to him. He felt lost and uncomfortable, like he didn't belong. This feeling made him wonder if this was what Mac wanted earlier today. Before Corey and Kyle's survivors group left the cafeteria, Corey wanted to walk with Kyle, but Mac told him he could not walk with Kyle because Kyle was their leader and they had rules they had to follow whenever they went out as a group. Mac also told him because of the rules, he had to stay at the back or in the middle of their formation. Corey wanted to argue about how it sounded all bullshit to him, but to his shock, Kyle took Mac's side and told him he could not walk with him since they had rules. Corey sighed, remembering how after Kyle took Mac's side, he chose to stay at the center of the formation instead of the back, thinking the back would be much more boring and uncomfortable. But now, it seemed like the back would be much better than where he was. Making his decision, Corey moved to the back of the group, much to some people's displeasure, since he had to bump into a lot of people to get to the back. After a few bumps, curses, and apologies, Corey heaved a sigh of relief the moment he reached the back. He looked around and was stunned when he noticed that 95% of the people at the back were females, while the remaining 5% were men who looked like they were assigned to protect the females. As Corey looked at the females also looked back at him. They looked at him with curiosity for a few seconds before one of them whispered something and they all started giggling. Corey's slight urge to start a conversation with one of them died, seeing them giggle. He doesn't know why they were giggling, but he felt that if a girl giggled at him and it was not because he said something funny, then his chances with that girl were low. Corey sighed, then looked down at his little brother. Guess we still remain virgins. Corey sighed once more, then decided to ignore the girls and the guys who were giving him looks of contempt. Status. Corey willed for his status window to pop up since he had nothing else to do. Basic information. Name, Corey Jr. Zane. Race, human. Brand level, 2. Affiliation, none. Class, none. Talent, omniscience awakened. Language, English. Titles, one of the 4 possessors of a graded talent on planet New Earth. Tier 0. Level 40-54. Attributes. Strength, 92-210. Agility, 69-140. Dexterity, 29-70. Constitution, 95-224. Intelligence, 500. Endurance, 56-115. Mana, 150. Free A.P, 72. Hidden attributes. Luck, /100. Charisma, /100. Wisdom, / Skills. Record talent skill. Danger sense, level 1. Silent steps, level 2. Night vision, unranked. Super jump, LV2. Undercover, level 1. Evade, level 2. Lock picking, level 1. Iron skin, level 1. Focus talent skill. Resistances. Fear resistance, LV1. Pain resistance, LV3. Equipments. Ghost Reaper, red grade. Ghost Cloak, red grade. Binoculars, red grade. Ghost Gloves growth, red grade. Pet/mount, none. System remark, huh? Are you sure your stats are correct? As Corey looked at his status window, he felt satisfaction. The first thing that granted him satisfaction was that him deciding to level up using the soul stones of Black Smileys made his attributes to increase tremendously, especially his strength and constitution. Another reason why his stats increased so much was that after he reached level 50, his stats were multiplied by 1.75. Not only were his stats multiplied by 1.75 after reaching level 50, he gained another talent skill, Focus. Focus was a talent skill that was also broken in Corey's opinion. Looking at the skill, Corey decided to see the description once again. Focus, an active skill that enables the holder to enter a state where his brain is in overdrive and his perception of his surroundings and time reduces by 2 times. The ability of this skill would increase as the user's level increases. Uses: 10 mana per second after activation. If there is no mana, stamina would be used. If there is no stamina, the health of the holder would be used. Mana requirement would increase as the ability of the skill increases. As Corey read the description of Focus once again, his heart was beating with excitement. This was an overpowered skill, and he knew that if he could utilize it properly, he would be a force to reckon with. Corey closed the description a few minutes later with a satisfied expression. He was satisfied with the few uses he came up with the skill. Corey then looked at the other part of his status window that had another immense change, his skills section. The number of new skills he had on him apart from Focus was 4: Undercover, Evade, Lockpicking, and Iron Skin. He tapped on the descriptions for each one of them. Undercover, a passive skill that erases your presence by 10% in dark or enclosed spaces. Evade, your evasion techniques and awareness has improved by 20%. Lockpicking, your lockpicking skills have improved by 10%. Iron Skin, an active skill that makes your skin hard as iron. Increases defense while decreasing agility and dexterity when activated. Uses: 5 mana per second. This were all the skills he bought from the merchant, which eventually made him as broke as a pauper. Although he didn't buy flashy moves that used mana because he did not have the coins to buy them, he bought skills he thought he would use for quite a long time. He wanted to buy skills like hand-to-hand combat skills, or even the dagger-wielding skills, but his amount of coins was not even close to price at all. In fact, when the merchant looked at the skills he bought, the merchant looked at him strangely, but didn't say anything in the end. Corey practiced Evade in the Library of Records so that it would reach level 2, and he was extremely satisfied with what he gained after reaching level 2 of the skill. As for why he bought the lock-picking skill, he only had a few bronze coins left, and that was the only useful coin he could spend it on. After Corey looked at the description of his new skills, he looked at the item that actually took 60% of his so-called wealth, the binoculars. Just as he was about to tap on it to read the description, he heard commotion from the front, and he looked up, wondering if there was danger. When he looked up, trying to find the cause for their commotion, he saw the reason for the commotion. They were in front of the security station. Corey looked at the story building, which was in ruins, and wondered if the building was actually safe. But no matter how Corey felt concerning the building, the group of 50 entered while having an expression of vigilance and battle readiness. Corey looked at all this with surprise and wondered how or what Kyle did to the group to make them like this. Corey, despite his thoughts, followed the group from behind and entered the building. But the moment he entered, a strong stench of blood and rotten smell of corpses assaulted Corey's nose, causing him to hold his nose instinctively. He looked around and saw lots and lots of corpses as they kept entering the building. Corey looked at the corpses, and uneasiness creeped into him, causing him to shiver instinctively. Most of the corpses had their heads bitten off, while some had bite marks on their torsos, and Corey could see the fear and despair in the eyes of some corpses. The uneasiness in Corey increased. He looked to the front, trying to see Kyle, but he could not. The number of people in front blocked his view. He wanted to advise him to stop, but just as this thought entered his head, he turned towards the group to see their expressions, and when he did, he was surprised. Most had fearful expressions seeing the state of the corpses, but Corey could see determination in their eyes. What the hell? Corey thought, wondering what the hell was wrong with everyone in this group. Why aren't they worried about their safety, for fuck's sake? Corey thought, and just as he did, he heard a faint whisper. Corey stood rooted on the spot, wondering if his mind was playing tricks on him. But just as he had that thought, he heard it more clearly this time around, and Corey was shocked to the core. Fuck! Corey cursed internally. then held his dagger in a battle stance while looking around with vigilance. The main reason Corey was so worried after his danger sense got activated was because he knew what type of enemy he would have to face for his danger sense to warn him. Corey was strong enough to face most creatures that were below Tier 1, and he knew that if he faced a creature that was even level 90, as long as the creature was not proficient in combat, he would win. Now, if Corey could face level 90 creatures, the only thing he knew he could not face at all were Tier 1 creatures. Corey knew he could absolutely not beat a Tier 1 creature at all. The merchant told him that Tier 1 creatures were on an absolutely different level from creatures below Tier 1. Not only did they have higher stats, they had the ability to use magic. Those two things set Tier 1 beings above non-tier beings. Just as Corey kept on looking around, he noticed something odd. The whistling sound from his danger sense skill kept on increasing, but Corey could not see anything that was causing it. Corey looked at the group and saw that they had stopped. He moved towards them and started walking to the front, bumping into the group. He had to warn Kyle about the danger that this place posed. He didn't care if everyone looked at him with disdain. His life was important, and he also cared about Kyle's life. He would not be able to live with himself if he ran away, and Kyle suffered or died because he decided not to warn Kyle. After some seconds, he was able to reach the front of the group, and there he saw Kyle, Matt, Mac, and Mira standing in front of a door. The moment Corey saw that door, the whistling from his danger sense whistled so loud that Corey groaned slightly and closed his eyes. A second later, he opened his eyes and looked at Kyle with an anxious expression. Kyle, we can't open that door. Something's there, and it's extremely dangerous. The moment Corey said those words, a snort sounded out, causing Corey to look at the source, which was Mira. I said it that you're just a boy and a coward. You're not a man, Mira said, then placed her hands on the handle of the door. I'll show you that there's nothing to be afraid of. The leader said that the room is safe, so why are you afraid? She said, then opened the door, much to Corey's horror. Corey ran towards Mira to try and close the door, but when he got close to the door, he stopped and was stunned. Inside of a room was a creature which Corey could not describe it properly or to be precise immediately. The creature had a human torso and limbs with white large wings attached to its back. Its head was large and was also that of a moose with large antlers. Now, what was creepy was that the head was mostly made out of bones with some rotten flesh here and there, and that the creature was on its back while holding its neck with its two human hands in a choking position. Everywhere was silent the moment the creature was shown until Kyle spoke. You don't have to worry. The creature is dead. I killed it, Kyle said, trying to ease the entire group, which surprisingly worked when they saw the creature stay still like a corpse. Meanwhile, Corey looked at Kyle after he spoke, then the monster. Dead? How is that motherfucker dead? My danger sense is ringing like crazy, Corey thought as he looked at the creature. But just as he did, he noticed something which made his pupils constrict. The creature. And just as he noticed, Mira, who was in front of Corey, spoke. What did I tell you? Be like Dash. Focus. Without waiting for Mira to finish speaking, Corey used his talent skill focus, and the entire world slowed down in front of him. Mira, who was speaking, could not finish her words because the creature's eyes moved, and in Corey's perception, he could see the creature elongate its neck like a toad's tongue, and before Mira could react. No, before she knew what was going on, her head went. Crunch. Her head bitten by the creature. Myra's body swayed, and Corey, who was in focus, could see the creature move towards him at lightning-fast speed, even in his state of focus, causing Corey's eyes to constrict. Super jump, Corey thought, then using the front of his bottom feet. Corey jumped backwards twice, but the head was still close to him, just a few meters away. Corey's mind spun, and after landing from his jump, he rolled forward, dodging the head by a centimeter. The head, not expecting Corey to roll underneath, could not stop and slammed into some unfortunate survivors, crushing them while splattering their blood and flesh. Then the head slammed into a wall, leaving silence behind. Corey instinctively looked at Kyle, but saw that he had a calm and indifferent expression. But when he looked at Matt and Mac, he saw Matt grinning with an evil smile, allowing Corey to know what was happening. Oh fuck, Corey cursed. A whole 3 seconds of deathly silence and confusion passed as nobody could comprehend what just happened or what was happening. Myra's headless fallen corpse, which dyed the ground with blood, make the ground a deep red color. The flesh, blood, and bones of the unfortunate survivors also spread out on the floor. The destroyed wall, the still and silent head of the terrifying creature made everyone to feel like they were in a nightmare. Leader, the monster is not dead. Let's get into battle positions. A young man shouted and turned towards Kyle, thinking that the creature which had been supposedly killed by their leader was on a way back to life. He didn't expect their leader to lie about the death of the monster. No, it was not that he didn't expect their leader to lie. He just could not fathom or see any reason why their leader would lie about the death of the monster. Their leader would never cause intentional harm upon them. He was the person who saved them numerous times and even made them stronger. He gave them soul stones, skill crystals, and even weapons gained from killing monsters without collecting payment. All he asked from them in return was that they follow him in battle, growing stronger to the point where they could eventually leave the academy and go look for their families, if they still had one. Their leader was so strong to the point that his might was unfathomable. Numerous times had he saved them from perilous situations, and this time would just be like the past. Although Mira, the leader's right hand, died, which shocked them, they knew it was because the attack was unexpected and came at lightning-fast speed that their leader could not react and save Mira. If not because of that, he would undoubtedly save her. And just like the dangerous times in the past, where survival seemed bleak, he would definitely save them. These were the thoughts of not only the young man, but of everyone in the survivor group. Their faith in Kyle was at the peak. The young man who shouted turned around and got into a fighting stance. The remaining survivors also regained their composure and reformed their formation. Corey, who was kneeling on the floor with one leg, looked at the group, and he was impressed by their reactions. He looked at Kyle, wondering what his next moves would be. He wanted to give him benefit of the doubt. He wanted to give Kyle a chance to change what was in his mind. He had to. He could not just believe that his friend from way before university would suddenly betray him. And he would betray him when he did no wrong to him in any way at all. Just as Corey was observing Kyle, everyone, all the survivors, including Corey, heard a voice filled mockery, amusement, and disdain. "Hey, Mac, want to bet how long this batch would last?" Matt said, causing everyone to turn towards him with confused expressions. "Batch, you know I hate betting, but if I was to choose, 30 seconds, Mac said with an indifferent tone and expression. His eyes moved from one member of the group to another. Seeing their expressions of confusion was nothing new to him. He had seen it all too many times from the previous batches. He knew that their expressions would change once the reality of the situation hit them. From confusion to denial. From denial to either courage or please. From courage or please to despair. Then from despair to sometimes rage. All this emotions Mac has seen in the previous 2 batches, and seeing the group going through all this emotions gave him a sort of ecstasy. It filled his heart with joy and pleasure. It felt orgasmic. Just as he was looking at the group's expression, he noticed Corey, who had a different expression than the others. He didn't have an expression of confusion or denial like the others. He had an expression of pain and sorrow. To Mac, Corey felt calm. Mac frowned. Meanwhile, Matt, not knowing his brother's thoughts, spoke with disdain and surprise after his brother spoke. 30 seconds? I choose 10. This bunch are just useless wimps. Matt said. The entire group of survivors had a confused expression hearing the words of the brothers. 30 seconds? 10 seconds? Batch. What were they talking about? Just as even Corey was thinking about those questions, Kyle, who had been silent throughout, spoke calmly and with an authoritative tone. What do you think you're doing sleeping there? Get up and eat. Everybody, including Corey, wondered who Kyle was talking to. Corey looked at the direction of Kyle's stare, and his eyes constricted. It can't be, Corey thought, but just as he thought this, his guess was to his horror proven right. The neck of the bizarre creature moved, and from the piles of bricks and stones, the head of Nightmares rose. Its eyeball rotated a few times before it stopped and focused. It turned its head and looked at the group of survivors below. With a big head and extremely long neck, this creature could be regarded as a creature horror, but no. Not only did it have an extremely long neck and big head, which frightened a lot of people, to the shock and horror of everyone, including Corey, the creature spoke. "Hello, are you food?" With the voice of an extremely young girl, the creature spoke. Shock and terror permeated everybody in the room. A cold shiver spread through their entire being and soul, making the room deadly silent. The creature, a few seconds later, twisted its neck in a 360 degrees angle and spoke with the same girly voice. "Hello, are you food?" But just as it spoke, Cal spoke. "Stop wasting my time and eat." Corey could swear that he perceived a smile from the creature, but before he could wonder if what he saw was right or wrong, his danger sense warned him with a very loud whistle. He groaned slightly and held his head. A second later, he ignored the whistling sound and looked up, and just as he looked up, the monster spoke once again, but this time it said only one word. Before all hell broke loose. Food. A/N. This is the bonus chapter for dropping 20 power stones. Thank a lot, guys. We're just one more power stone away from getting another bonus chapter. So drop not only one power stone, but as many power stones as you can. I will give out the bonus chapters. I have one more chapter I'm meant to write, which is the normal chapter for today. March 4th. But first, I need to sleep, like badly sleep. I slept around 3 a.m. yesterday, but I had to wake up around 6 a.m. for family stuffs. I've been busy and not slept after those 3 hours of sleep, so I need to sleep. I might upload the next chapter today or tomorrow. I'm not sure, but it depends on how I feel. So later, guys, and have a great day/night. Food. The moment the creature spoke, its head swayed, its eyeball rotated, and without warning, like lightning, its neck elongated towards a man who was the closest to the creature. Crunch. Bang. The sound of the creature eating the man's head and the sound of the man's fallen corpse shook everyone and brought them back to reality. Leah, leader, what's going on? The young man who spoke previously stuttered as he looked at their leader. His eyes, which had confusion previously, now had denial. It was not only his eyes which had denial. The eyes of the remaining survivors also had denial. They could not just believe that their leader, their beloved leader, would lead them to their deaths. Kyle, who everyone was looking at, just leaned back on the wall behind him and folded his arms, his eyes full of indifference as he looked at all the survivors without speaking. His indifferent eyes and expression made it seem like responding to their confusions was just beneath him. Despite everyone's thoughts, the creature did not give a damn, and with renewed passion it unleashed hell. Striking at this time, a woman, her head went missing before she could react. Crunch. Moving towards another target, the creature unleashed its attack, biting off heads, leaving incomplete heads, and sometimes going through the chest of some survivors, leaving behind a massive hole and staining the floor red with the blood and flesh of its victims. Some tried to run, but to their horror, that attracted the creature's attention and made them its main target. Corpses with headless and sometimes massive holes filled the corridor, causing people to feel despair. Leader, please save us. Leader, please forgive us. Save us. Leader, WHYYY. Leader, please save me. I'll be your slave for life. I'll be your sex slave. You can do anything to me. Please save me. Various shouts of please spread out. They begged. They pleaded. They offered up their bodies. They even offered up their souls. But Cal just looked at all this with an indifferent expression, not saying a word or moving a muscle. Matt had an expression of disdain, mockery, and entertainment. Mac had a wide smile on his face, his body trembling so slightly. Everybody, get into formation. Don't give up. Attack. We can survive. No, we will survive. Get your shit together and fight. Fight. Just as everything and everyone was descending into madness, the young man from before shouted, trying to bring order to all the ongoing madness, and surprisingly it worked. But just as everywhere was calm and everyone thought the situation could somehow be reversed, the creature turned its head towards the young man, and before the man or any other person could respond, the creature's neck extended, and in a flash it appeared in front of the young man. The young man could not respond to the lightning-fast attack, and the last thing he saw was the large, sharp teeth of the creature before his head went. Crunch! Ha 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 ha! That fool! Ha 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 ha! Matt laughed madly as he looked at the fallen, headless corpse of the young man, with disdain and mockery. Why the fuck would you be so stupid and shout as loud as that in front of the monster? Doesn't the fool know he would attract its attention? And he's so weak again. Ha 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 ha! Matt laughed while wiping away his tears. Mac shook his head softly, while Kyle just looked at the young man's corpse with a raised eyebrow, looking at it with slight amusement. Now from courage and please to despair. Mac muttered softly as he looked at the dazed expressions of the remaining survivors as they looked at the corpse of the young man. Their eyes were hollow and was slowly filled with despair. The man who they thought would be their hero in this situation was dead. Who would help them now? Who would save them? Would a hero arrive heroically? Or would the god save them and cause a miracle to happen? The answers to all their questions were answered the next second as they heard a sound they knew all too well. Crunch! The sounds of bones breaking reverberated throughout, causing the survivors to look at their source of nightmare and despair. Seeing the head of another survivor in the creature's monstrous mouth, the survivors knew the answer to their thoughts. No hero was coming to save them. No god was going to cause a miracle. Nobody was going to save them. They were doomed. And true, they were actually doomed. Corey, who had been watching the entire scene for the past 3 minutes, was currently hiding underneath a corpse. After Corey saw that the survivors who tried to escape attracted the monster's attention, he thought of a plan to leave this hell and run for his life. The plan was risky, in fact very risky, and mostly depended on luck and also his observation. Corey planned on crawling and hiding from one corpse to the other, eventually reaching the last corpse. From there, he planned on activating focus so that if the creature noticed him, he would be able to react and escape. His plan also depended on another factor. He looked at his status window, mainly a particular attribute. Mana, 100. His mana had reduced by 50 points, which meant that his focus could only last for 10 seconds, which he hoped would be enough. Corey took in a very soft breath as he looked at the carnage that was ongoing. He could see the survivors' expressions of despair. He could hear them pleading, begging. He could hear their wails of agony and pain. He could hear their rage-filled curses towards Kyle. He could hear and see everything, but Corey did not plan on trying to save any of the survivors. In fact, he had never entertained the thought of saving any of the survivors. Ever since he realized the creature was a Tier 1, the only thought in his mind was on how to survive, how to escape and make sure he lives to see his little sister, his mother, and even his dad. Ever since he was born, he had never thought of being a hero. In fact, to him the concept of heroes and villains was just stupid in his eyes. Corey did not want to be a hero, nor did he want to be a villain. Right now, he just wanted to survive and meet up with his family. Just as his thoughts passed through Corey's mind, he saw his chance. He noticed the creature had its back towards him, and with that it should not be able to see him when he moves. Corey slowly removed the corpse on top of him and crawled on his back while looking at the creature, his eyes never leaving the creature. Just as Corey was watching the creature, he noticed something which bothered him. The number of survivors remaining were small, which meant that very soon, the creature would no longer be distracted and he would have no way to escape. Corey looked back and saw that he was about 20 meters away from the T-intersection of the corridor, which was far in his opinion. He thought about what to do in this situation and looked at the intersection once again. The left side of the intersection had stairs that led to the upper parts of the building and also the door where one can leave the building, while the right side of the intersection led underground where the car park of the building was located. It did not only contain the car park, but also had a door in the car park which led somewhere else, somewhere which he hoped would be able to save him and not fuck him up. Corey looked at the creature, then stood slowly, getting on all fours. He crawled like a baby, not daring to run and attract the attention of the monster or the bastards who were behind all of this. "What do you think you're going, bastard?" Whoosh! Just as Corey was crawling, he heard a voice filled with hostility from behind him. And just as he heard it, he heard the sound of the air being torn apart, like something heavy and sharp was coming towards him. Without looking back, he laid flat on the ground, then rolled to the left. And just as he did, an object whooshed past his previous position and continued forward until it slammed into the wall in front. Bang! Corey, with cold sweat, looked at what almost killed him, and when he did, he immediately recognized what it was. Matt's giant sword. Corey looked back and saw Matt walking towards him while cracking his knuckles with a wide grin. Corey then looked at the main thing he was worried about, the terrifying creature. And when he looked at it, he saw it looking back at him, and a sense of déjà vu hit him. Oh fuck, not again. He cursed, then did what was 100% the best choice in this situation. He ran. A/N. This is the bonus chapter for reaching the 3rd level of the Power Stone target, which is 30 Power Stones. Thanks a lot, everyone. I still have one more chapter I'm owing you guys, which is the normal chapter of March 4th. I'll do it later. But now I sleep. It's 2:55 a.m. here, and tomorrow is a Sunday, so I'll be busy for quite some time. So good night, and have a great day/night, everyone. Also, don't forget to drop Power Stones. You're only 6 Power Stones away from getting another bonus chapter, so drop those Power Stones. Getting off the floor, Corey dashed to the intersection without haste. Behind him, Matt, who was looking forward to beating the shit out of Corey, had a stunned expression seeing Corey run immediately. Come back here and face me like a man, you bastard. Stop running like a coward. Matt taunted Corey and chased after him with a murderous expression. There was no way he was going to let Corey escape after all that, Corey, he said to him. He wanted to skin him alive. Meanwhile, the head of the bizarre creature looked at Corey before it also moved like lightning towards Corey. Corey, who was running, heard Matt's taunts, but he obviously ignored them. He would be a fool if he dared to fight or even stay a second in that hellhole. Just as he was running with full speed towards the intersection, he felt something coming at an extremely fast speed towards him. He looked back slightly, and his eyes widened when he saw the head of the bizarre creature moving towards him like lightning. Shit. Focus. Time slowed down in Corey's eyes as he used focus. He turned his head back, and his mind, which was in overdrive, worked quickly to think of how to survive his current situation. He knew that he would not be able to reach the intersection before the creature's head got to him, and he had only 10 seconds to think of a way to survive in his focused state. A second went, and his brain, which was in overdrive, thought of a method to lengthen his time of survival. Add all free attribute points to agility. Corey spoke so fast that he spent half a second to finish his sentence. In the next half second, his agility increased from 140 to 212, while his free attribute points decreased from 72 to 0. What? Matt was baffled when he saw Corey's massive increase in speed. He was not the only one that was shocked. Mac, Kyle, and even the creature were baffled. Although they were stunned, in the next second they regained their composure, and Matt increased his speed while chasing after Corey. The creature also increased its speed that despite Corey's increase in speed, it was rapidly closing the gap between them. In the next 3 seconds, Corey was only a meter from the intersection, and the head was only a meter from Corey. Corey could feel the sensation of death so close to him, but in his focused state, he was calm. Noticing he was only a meter from the intersection, he swerved to the left slightly, and the head followed. Then just when the head thought it would get another meal, Corey abruptly swerved to the right, performing a perfect feint like the best player in soccer. The head tried to turn to the right, but since Corey's turn was so sudden, it could not perfectly turn and eventually slammed itself into the wall once again, causing rubbles to fly everywhere. Corey quickly ended his focused state after he temporarily immobilized the head of the bizarre creature. Being in his focused state was the only way he could react to the creature, and, if possible, he didn't want to use his stamina to enter focus, and he definitely did not want to use his health to enter focus. He looked at his status window very quickly as he kept on running and saw that he only had 40 units of mana left, which meant he only 4 seconds to stay in a focused state. Realizing that, he closed his status window and quickened his pace, ignoring the shouts and taunts of Matt behind him. Meanwhile, Mac and Kyle looked at the intersection where the head of creature lay and also where Matt and Corey had disappeared to. A second of silence passed before Kyle spoke. Follow your brother. Mac had a surprised expression, and his surprise even showed in his tone as he spoke. Are you sure? Matt is level 67, and he's definitely not weak. I don't think Corey can cause any kind of harm to him. Kyle looked at the spot where the creature's head was for a few seconds before he spoke. Zane is stronger than we thought. Also, his speed, response, and intuition are high. He already sensed that there was something dangerous in that room before we reached the room. Also, Zane is faster than your brother, and he must not escape. If he escapes and warns the other group of survivors, or any other survivor, then we would not be able to do this again. Kyle explained, allowing Mac to understand Kyle's reason for telling him to go after his brother. Without replying Kyle, his body swayed, then he ran, leaving behind afterimages as he reached the intersection, and then he finally disappeared from Kyle's view. Seeing Mac leave, Kyle sighed softly a few seconds later, then he spoke. Get up and come. The moment Kyle said those words, the head of the creature rose up from the rubbles and swayed slightly, like it was feeling dizzy. A few seconds later, its neck shortened until its head was in front of Kyle in a submissive manner. Spit them out, Kyle said, and a few seconds later the head spat out several soul stones on the floor. These were the soul stones of some survivors of the survivor group that was just slaughtered. Kyle looked at the soul stones, and when he saw the saliva and disgusting liquid on the soul stones, he frowned. He pointed at the soul stones, and a drop of water formed from his fingertip, dropping onto soul stones. Just as it dropped, the water increased and formed a ball of water which swallowed the soul stones and the disgusting liquid together. A few seconds later, the ball of water disappeared, leaving behind clean soul stones. Kyle, seeing the clean soul stones, no longer had a frown. He turned towards the head and spoke. Go after Zane, but this time, use your entire body. The head nodded after hearing Kyle's words, then its neck retracted into the room where its body was. The neck regained its normal length, and its hands, which were holding the lower part of his neck, removed. Its body turned sideways, and it pressed its hand on the floor, using it to lift itself up, and if Corey were here to see the creature standing, he would be totally shocked and stunned because the creature was extremely huge. Its head almost reached the ceiling of the room, and with its outstretched wings just made the creature more fear-inducing. Hi-hee! One would expect the creature to roar, but no, it did not. It giggled with the voice of a little girl, which would definitely spook Corey, despite his recent experiences. The creature moved towards the door of the room, which was a lot smaller than it since it was made for humans, but the monster, not caring about that, just walked through the door and broke the wall on top of the door, causing rubbles to fall. It walked toward the intersection and walked to the right side of it, wanting to accomplish its master's task, which he gave it. Kyle looked at the intersection where Corey, Mac, and the creature had disappeared for a few seconds before he bent and picked one of the soul stones. Mac, and the Chimera went after Zane, so he should have no chance of surviving. Kyle paused, then frowned. He looked at the intersection once again, and his frown deepened. I hope those guys don't mess up, or I might need to take action and kill Zane myself, even if I don't want to. Kyle muttered as he looked at the soul stone, which was turning to dust. The long-lost feeling of his stats increasing made a smile to form on his face. Human soul stone is really the best way to increase one's attributes. Kyle muttered, then continued to absorb the remaining soul stones. Meanwhile, Corey's situation had just turned from bad to worse, with him having to face 3 deadly opponents. Would Corey be able to survive? /N important info, don't skip. It's long, but still don't skip. I'm sorry that I didn't post yesterday, but there was a reason for that. I felt ill yesterday. I had headache, body pain, cough, catarrh, and cold, and because of that I could not write anything yesterday. I took some drugs, and those drugs made me sleep throughout yesterday. I didn't like the fact that I did not publish a chapter yesterday, and since I'm feeling better at the moment, I decided to write and also explain the reason for not writing yesterday. I'll try to write another chapter, but I won't overwork myself so that I don't become worse. Now, there are 2 important info I'm going to drop. First, I just signed an exclusive contract with Webnovel today, so very soon you would be able to vote using golden tickets and drop gifts for my book. Now, because of that, I'm going to increase the Power Stone requirement for bonus chapters. Please note, I'm not increasing it because I don't want to release bonus chapters. I'm increasing it because I want to start writing down the privilege chapters so that when it's time to go privilege, I won't waste time writing it and would release the entire privilege chapters at once. I plan on making the number of privilege chapters 30 or at least 25, by the way. Now, the Power Stone target IS for every 30 Power Stones, I will release one bonus chapter, which means 30p.s equals one bonus chapter, 60p.s equals two bonus chapters, 90p.s equals three bonus chapters. Some of y'all might say I'm being too greedy and I increase way too much from 10 to 30, but one thing you should know is that my Power Stone target is low. There are some new novels that will request for 100 Power Stones for one bonus chapter, so you should know that I've actually been setting my requirements really, really low. Another thing which I have to say is that yesterday, I was truly disappointed when I saw the number of Power Stones I received. The number of collections increased so much yesterday, but my Power Stones didn't increase that much. I have 85 collections now, but only 8 Power Stones, not even up to 10. 10. I know that at least 20 people read my book every day, but only few vote, and I must say I expected more. All I'm asking for is Power Stone at this moment. Web Novel gives out free Power Stones, and if 20 people receive at least 2 Power Stones, then that's 40 Power Stones. You know what? I'm not going to talk too much anymore. Just drop those Power Stones and make it reach up to 30, and I will give you your bonus chapters. You guys can do it, and I believe in you. So drop those damn Power Stones. Stop running, you bastard, and face me like a man. Matt roared, then jumped with his giant sword raised. Bang. Fucking cockroach. Matt cursed as he saw Corey a few meters away from him running down the stairs. He picked up his giant sword and continued his chase. Bam. Bang. Jumping down the stairs instead of running down it. Matt caused a few cracks to form on the steps he landed on, not due to his weight, but due to his sword's weight. After realizing that his agility was lower than Corey's, and that there was a very high chance of Corey escaping from him, he thought of using this method to shorten the distance between them on the stairs they were currently on, and surprisingly it worked, shocking Corey that Musclehead could think to that extent. In fact, Corey was so shocked that he praised Matt by saying, "I thought your penis had more brain cells in your brain. Guess I was wrong." Obviously, Corey's praise did not have the intended effect a praise was meant to have. It only increased the hatred and killing intent Matt had towards Corey. Matt did not rage as much as Corey expected him to rage, which made Corey slightly disappointed. As for the reason why Matt did not rage so much was because he knew that no matter what, Corey would die today. There was no escaping or surviving for Corey, and he would definitely torture him to his heart's content. Now, as the chase continued, Corey looked back, and when he saw Matt jumping from one step to another step, Corey wondered how much stamina Matt had for him to jump continuously without rest. Musclehead must have put a lot of his free attribute points into endurance. Corey thought, then his eyes moved to Matt's sword and strength. Removing these thoughts from his mind, Corey stopped looking at Matt and looked at the front where he could finally see the end of the stairs. Finally, Corey heaved a breath of relief, seeing the end of the stairs, then jumped towards it. Bam! Landing in an upright position, Corey looked forward and saw a metal door a few meters away from him. Without wasting a single second, Corey ran to the door and kicked it open with a force enough to open the door, but not enough to remove the door from its hinges. Bam! The door flew open and Corey went through it. He could hear Matt's landing very close to the end of the stairs, but with a calm expression. He held the door and slammed it shut. Bam! Turning back, he continued his run. Although the door would definitely not stop Matt, it would buy him at least a second, which would help him a lot. 3 seconds later, bam! Bastard! He heard the sound of the door been slammed open and Matt's snarl. Without turning back, Corey looked at his surroundings as he ran with a smile on his face. His plan to reach where he currently was, which was the car park, was a success. But as he looked around, his face darkened. This place is too damn big. Corey cursed, seeing that the car park was as large as half a soccer pitch. Why would you make a car park this big? Corey thought with frustration, but he kept on running. Corey's reason for coming to this large underground car park was because other than this underground space being a car park, it also had an underground storage room of androids and robots. Everybody, or let's say most, knew about E-Academy having an underground storage of androids and robots, which were supposed to be used in case of emergencies. The people in control of E-Academy made sure everybody knew so as to assure the parents of their children's safety. Now, Corey's plan is to find this underground storage and, if possible, activate all or some androids to attack the monstrosity that was controlled by Kyle. There are so many things that could go wrong, like literally so many things, but this was what could give him his highest chance of survival. He could not outrun the Tier 1 creature, and he was not sure if he would be able to hide from it. He needed the creature to be occupied for as long as possible so that the distance between him and it would shorten a lot. But first, for the creature to be occupied, he needed to find the door leading to the storage area, and the large car park was definitely not helping him in any way. Corey turned to the back and looked at Matt, who was still chasing him. His eyes flashed, and without warning, he swerved to the right, abruptly catching Matt slightly off guard. Although Matt was taken aback by the sudden turn, he recovered and continued his chase. He reached the location where Corey turned and turned to the right, expecting to see Corey, but the moment he did, he stopped. In front of him were different parked vehicles, but no Corey. "Where are you, you bastard?" Matt shouted and moved while holding his sword. "It's been a coward, all you know how to do. Running, dodging, and now hiding. Be a man and come out and face me." Matt roared while looking around warily. Despite his roar, there was nothing else but vehicles in his surroundings, no Corey, no Smiley, and not even a single monster. Matt got annoyed seeing nothing but vehicles. Bam! Bang! He kicked the car, which was in front of him, with so much force that the car slammed into the next two cars beside it. Alarms sounded out from the cars, causing the entire place to become noisy, which also increased Matt's annoyance. "Get out and face me, you bastard!" Matt roared, then swung his sword at another car beside him, causing the roof of the car to be dented and another alarm to blare to life. Matt walked away from the location with a scowl. He looked around once again, but found no signs of Corey once again. The rage in his eyes increased. His teeth made grinding noises, his muscles increased slightly, and his hands tightened around his sword. Raising his sword up, a red aura formed around his body and his sword. His eyes became red, and with the voice of a guttural roar, he roared. "I said, come out, you bastard." "I said, come out, you bastard." Bang! Boom! Matt swung his great sword towards the floor, and the floor caved in immediately. Stones and dust flew into the air, destroying a large number of vehicles. Tremors occurred in the car park, and cracks formed at least 10 m around Matt. As the damage done by Matt to the underground car park kept on increasing, Corey, who was far away, looked at the damage done by Matt with envy. Not fear, not astonishment, not disdain, not relief, but envy. What kind of bullshit is this? How can a stupid guy like that have a powerful attack skill like that? But I have none. Crack! Corey, who had an envious and sad expression, looked down and saw the floor crack just a feet away from his leg. I'm at least 25 m away from this idiot, but his skill still affected this place. What kind of power is that? Corey muttered, and the envy in his eyes increased. He wanted a powerful offensive skill also. Most of his skills were passives, and even his dagger had disadvantages whenever he fought using it. A few seconds later, Corey turned back and started looking for what he came for, the entrance to the underground storage room. As for how Corey got far away from Matt, well, that's simple. After Corey turned to the right, he immediately hid underneath a minivan and just kept on crawling under any vehicle he could until he was far away from Matt. Corey at first wanted to kill Matt through a sneak attack, but after thinking about it, he realized he didn't have much time to waste and his chances of survival would decrease if he could not kill Matt in one move. He knew there was a chance that the creature would come down here, and he also knew that there even a possibility that Mac, or even Mac and Kyle would come down here to kill him. And because of that, he could not waste any more time on Matt. Luckily, Matt was an idiot like Corey had always been calling him and didn't bother checking underneath the cars or even searching properly. Well, another thing that helped Corey was the passive skill undercover. Because of the skill, he intuitively knew the better places to hide, and also, the skill masked his presence to a certain extent when hiding. Currently, Corey was crawling on all fours as he looked for the entrance to the storage room. He stood in a crouching position a few times to look around, and just when Corey was getting anxious, he found a metal door to his right as he passed a car. He looked at the door and saw a warning sign on it, saying it was only meant for authorized personnel. Corey's eyes brightened with happiness, and he moved towards it. But just as he did, he heard a voice coming from afar. "Matt, huh? What are you doing here, brother? The leader sent me. He said he doesn't want the bastard to escape since he's faster than you. So, doesn't matter. He can't escape from my hands. So, where is he?" About that. Corey stopped moving towards the door, hearing the two brothers speak. He moved towards a minivan and hid behind it while taking a peek at the brothers, Matt and Mac. He needed to know the positions of the brothers, so as to be sure that none of them were facing the door. After peeking at the brothers for a few seconds, he crouched back and crawled towards the door. The brothers were still speaking and even almost arguing due to Matt losing sight of him. Argue more and give more time, Corey thought as he looked at the metal door in front of him. In his crouching position, he looked at the handle of the metal door to see whether the door required a key card to enter or a normal metal key. This was one of the things Corey was worried about the plan he had. He knew that if the entrance required something like a key card or DNA as a means of identification, then he was screwed. Though luckily for him, the door did not need any of that. It only required a normal metal key to open it. Corey praised Lady Luck immensely in his heart and brought out a thin wire from one of the pockets of his tattered robe. He inserted the wire into the keyhole and used one of the skills he bought from the merchant. Lock picking. Thanking Lady Luck once again for him choosing to buy the skill, Corey focused on the keyhole as he tried to unlock it using the thin wire. A minute later, fuck, Corey cursed internally. He had been trying to open the door, but he had been failing, which was not actually surprising considering that. Corey has never tried to pick a lock before today. His lock-picking skill was just level 1, and Corey was anything but calm to try and pick the lock correctly. Just as Corey was about to try again, he heard a sound. Bam, 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 bam. Corey, hearing the sound, was curious, so he crouched a little and looked up. And the moment he did, he saw the Tier 1 creature walk through the door to this underground parking lot. Corey's eyes widened, and just as he was about to bend and hide, the creature turned its head and looked at Corey, causing Corey to freeze on the spot. Not due to fear, but shock. He looked at the creature with a blank and shocked look, and the creature stared back at him. As Corey looked into the creature's eyes, a word kept on repeating in his mind. Ow! Important info, don't skip. It's actually important, so don't skip. It's also long. Sorry about that. A/N, ahem, ahem. First, for some of y'all that might be wondering if it's every chapter in On 22 would be having an important info, it's not my fault, you know. The blessings and good things just keep on coming, and I want to share them all with you. It's not money, by the way, so don't think it's money. I'm so broke at the moment. I only have around $7 in my account. Smiley face. Moving on from that, I have various things I want now. Have T.O. say. First, if you've seen the page of my book, you'll see that my book is now officially contracted with Web Novel. Thanks a lot for your support, guys. I'm really grateful for every single way you have supported me and my book. I appreciate it. Second, as I promised, I'm going to do a few things. Now that you can vote with golden tickets, I'm going to do what I did previously with Power Stones, which is, for the first 5 people that drop at least 2 golden tickets for my novel, I will use their names in my novel, and they can also request for specific wishes if they want. Also, for every 15 golden tickets, I will drop 1 bonus chapter. Now, apart from using golden tickets, there's also gift. I want to actually say something, but I think I'll say it on another day. Anyway, back to the gifts. For every gift that is worth at least 5,000 coins, I will drop 1 bonus chapter, and for the first 5 people that drop a gift worth at least 5,000 coins, I will also use your names in my novel, and you can request for specific wishes. So that means there are 3 ways y'all can get bonus chapters. 15 golden tickets equals 1 bonus chapter. 30 golden tickets equals 2 bonus chapters. 45 golden tickets equals 3 bonus chapters. 5,000 coins equals 1 bonus chapter. 10,000 coins equals 2 bonus chapters. 150,000 coins equals 3 bonus chapters. 30 power stones equals 1 bonus chapters. 60 power stones equals 2 bonus chapters. 90 power stones equals 3 bonus chapters. You know, when I see the numerous ways I've given you guys to gain bonus chapters, cold sweat literally flows down my forehead thinking of how much writing I'll have to do. Most writers don't give out bonus chapters unless it's for gifts, and it's actually understandable, because writing is very hard, especially writing every day. Sometimes I just want to take a day off and relax, but when I think of how some of you might be waiting for a new chapter, I'm like, nah man, you can't take a break. You have to write for the readers. So like I've always been doing, I will grit my teeth and write even though I don't feel like, or I'm a little bit tired to give you guys those bonus chapters if you guys meet the requirements I set. I'm ready to work hard for you guys, so you guys should also do your part. I believe in you all. Oh, one last thing, it's actually the last. So please guys, like really please, drop gifts for me. You know I promise that until I finish the first volume, I won't go premium, and I definitely intend to keep my promise. But please, going premium and having privileged chapters is a very important part of how authors make their money. So me not going premium is not because I don't want the money, I definitely want it. I was not joking when I said I only had around $7 left. I'm not going premium because of you guys. So please drop gifts, even if it's a cola. It's not too small. Thanks y'all and sorry for the short chapter. I'm not fully healed yet, but I'm definitely better. Hopefully by tomorrow, I'll be fully healed and I'll be at my best. Have a great day/night. As Corey looked into the eyes of the creature, he could not help wonder how it found him so quickly. Was it just a coincidence? Corey thought, and the more he thought about it, the more he felt like it was actually a coincidence. My luck is absolutely shit. Corey wailed internally, then quickly stood and turned towards the door. Look, that's the bastard. He heard Matt's roar in the distance, but ignoring Matt or whatever was coming after him, he quickly kicked the door with full force. He couldn't be bothered to try and open the door quietly anymore when his life could be ended in seconds. Fucking open! Corey yelled with frustration and anger, seeing the metal door not open even after he kicked it with his superhuman strength. Bam! He kicked it once again, but the door still didn't open. Fuck! Crash! Bam! Corey could hear more car alarms blare behind him, and also the sounds of lots of things been getting destroyed was louder. Corey looked behind him, and he saw the creature walking towards him while crushing any unfortunate vehicle that was on its path beneath its feet. He also saw Matt and Mac running towards him with Matt having a wide grin on his face. Corey, seeing all of this, quickly turned back to the door with his heart beating faster than normal and his eyes looking at the door with hatred. Corey officially hates doors now. Apart from Smiley's, doors were among the top of his dislike list. How many times would doors almost cause his death? How many fucking times? As he looked at the door with eyes full of hatred, his mind spun on how to destroy the damn door in front of him for a few seconds before he remembered his skill. Iron Skin. Using the skill, his skin turned slightly gray and he felt his body become heavier. Hoping the skill would work, he looked at the door with cold eyes. You stupid door, fucking open. Kicking the door while pouring all his hatred towards doors in his kick, the door, as if frightened by his weird hatred toward it, finally opened. Finally! Corey exclaimed with joy, seeing the door finally open, and he deactivated Iron Skin. Not wanting to waste any more time, Corey ran into the room. He ran for a few meters, and his expression brightened when he saw various machines and also some unfinished androids and robots. I'm in the storage room, Corey thought with happiness. Now that he was in the underground storage room, his plan was almost complete and his chances of survival would increase exponentially if he could complete it. Thinking of how close he was to success, he increased his speed, but after running for at least 10 m, there was a turning to the right he had to take if he did not want to reach a dead end, so he took it. And just as he did, fuck, he cursed. And with a frightened expression, he tried to stop, but he could not due to him running with his full speed, and to his horror, he got closer and closer to the large hole which was in the room. Shit. Corey cursed repeatedly, and just when he thought he would fall into the large hole, he was able to stop just as the edge of the hole. With his hands outstretched forward, his pupils dilated, his breathing extremely erratic, and his heart beating so fast that it almost leaped out of his chest, Corey stood there frozen in shock and fear for a few seconds before he calmed down slightly. He dropped his hands, and he tried to calm his erratic, beating heart and breath. He looked down into the hole, and he saw that he could see no end to the hole from where he was. The deeper Corey looked into the hole, the less he could see even with his night vision. The hole became so dark that he could see nothing. Corey released a breath and wanted to take a step back away from this hole. But just as he took a step back, he heard a sound beneath his feet. Crack! Oh no! He wanted to jump, but before he could, the ground beneath him cracked, and he obviously fell. Fuck me sideways. Corey cursed as he fell. He then brought out Smile Reaper and stabbed it into the wall, which was just a few meters away from him. Despite Smile Reaper being stabbed into the wall, Corey still slid down the wall for at least 15 m before he stopped. Corey exhaled and inhaled a few times, then he looked down, looking for the safest place he could put his leg. After finding a place to put his leg, he looked up and seeing that the top was not too far, he placed Smile Reaper into his robe pocket and started climbing, all the while cursing. What did I expect? For my plan to work perfectly, especially when there were doors involved? Why would it work? Doors hate me, and I hate them too. I mean, doors are my mortal enemies now. I hate them so much. They're just a source of bad luck. Corey clicked his tongue, then looked up. His speed of climbing was not fast enough for him. Mac and the creature would soon reach this room, anytime soon, and if that happened, he would have no choice but to take his chances and jump into this abyss beneath him. Although his chances of survival with the abyss would be slim, at least he might have a chance of survival, but with him facing Mac, and the creature, he would definitely not be able to survive. Knowing all of this, Corey stopped climbing and looked to the top, a calculating light in his eyes. A second later, he brought out Smile Reaper and held it with his right hand. He looked at his feet and tapped the rock he was currently standing on a little. Finding it to be stable, Corey tightened his muscles on his legs and jumped. The rock beneath his legs got destroyed, causing Corey's jump to not reach its full potential, but it did not matter to him because the distance he covered was way higher than when he climbed using his hands. Reaching the peak of his jump, he stabbed Smile Reaper firmly into the wall, and after balancing himself, he found a place he could put his foot and jumped again. After balancing himself from his second jump, he wanted to jump again, but he heard a sound coming from below. He could not hear it properly, so he looked down with a frown, and just as he did, he felt the rock he was holding vibrate slightly, and he could hear a sound, though it was faint. Hyacinth. Corey's eyes widened hearing the sound, and without wasting a single second, he jumped, but this time, it was not a normal jump, but a super jump. The rock beneath his feet broke apart immediately, and Corey's jump was way higher than his previous ones. He got so close to the top that he'll only need to use his hands at most 7 times to reach the top, but Corey did not care about that all. He could hear his danger sense skill warning him that the creature or thing coming towards him was dangerous to him. Corey not wanting to take any chances used super jump once again and flew above the top. A second later, gravity took place and Corey was brought back to the floor, though he was close to the hole. Corey immediately moved away from the hole and looked around quickly. He could see that the room he was in actually had robots and androids because he could see their remains, but the room, the androids, and the robots were destroyed beyond repair. Corey ignored all of this and looked for where to hide. He looked at the entrance he used to enter this place, and he saw some destroyed large machines close to the entrance, and his eyes lit up. He quickly ran to the machines and hid behind it the best way he learned from his skill undercover. He definitely could not leave the way he came from because he knew that Mac, and the Tier 1 creature could come at any time, and if he did not hide, he would definitely die if he decided to leave the room the same way he came from. And just as Corey expected, Mac, and the creature came out of the entrance with the creature at the front. And the moment they entered, a creature also rose from the large hole in the room. A giant green snake. The moment it appeared, it locked eyes on the Tier 1 creature, and the Tier 1 creature also looked at it, causing the tension in the room to increase. Meanwhile, Corey, seeing the giant snake, only had one thought in his mind. At least it's a normal creature this time around. As Corey looked at the stare down that was occurring between the giant green snake and the bizarre creature, his eyes moved back and forth from the bizarre creature to the giant green snake while wishing for the two monsters to fight and, if possible, kill each other. Fight, fight, you damn monsters. Fight, kill yourselves, and let me find an opportunity to escape, Corey thought while looking at the two monsters which were still staring at each other. Corey did not know why the monsters kept on looking at one another, but if there was one thing he finally knew as he kept on staring at them, it was the names and tiers of the two monsters. The bizarre creature was called a cursed chimera according to record, while the giant green snake was called a demi-basilisk. And both of these creatures were Tier 1 creatures. Although according to record they were Tier 1 creatures, Corey had a feeling that the demi-basilisk was more deadly than the cursed chimera. This feeling was based on the number of simulated battles he had gone through in a library of records and not on actual facts. Corey looked away from the two Tier 1 monsters and looked at Matt and Mac. He was wondering why they had not said a single word, especially the idiot Matt. But as he observed the brothers, he realized that Matt and Mac had solemn looks as they looked at the demi-basilisk. Corey could see that they didn't dare to move at all, and they even had sweat dripping down their faces. Step, 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 step. Just as Corey was wondering what the hell was going on, he heard very light footsteps that if it were any lighter, it would be as silent as his because of his passive skill, silent steps. Corey looked at the entrance where the source of the light footsteps was, and just as he did, his eyes widened, his breath quickened slightly, and he cursed internally. Fuck me sideways. Walking into the room was Mr. Handsome and Perfect in all his majesty. Despite wearing black sneakers, black trousers, and a black shirt, his tall, lean, and muscular physique made the clothes look better than normal. Normally, it was the clothes that made the man, but this time, in a weird way, the man made the clothes. His cold and indifferent blue eyes first looked at the two monsters in the room before looking at the brothers. Where is Zane? Corey, hearing that question, quickly stopped looking at Kyle or anyone else and tried to hide his entire presence and being. Meanwhile, Matt and Mac had solemn and fearful expressions hearing Kyle's question, especially Matt. I'm sorry, leader. I lost track of him when I was following him down here, when Dash. Did I ask for your apology or stories? I said, where is Zane? Kyle cut off Matt, who was speaking, with an indifferent expression and tone. We don't know where he is, leader. He ran and we followed him, but when we came here, all we saw was your pet ball. Matt gestured to the demi-basilisk as he quickly corrected himself and gave a short answer. Meanwhile, Corey, did I just jump from the frying pan into the fire? Corey thought with a depressed expression as he heard Matt's words. Never in his wildest dreams did he think the demi-basilisk would be Kyle's pet. All his plans had been futile from the onset. It was never destined to work, and he guessed the reason Kyle was calm ever since he ran was because he knew that if he chose to come here, then there was no way of escaping. In fact, when he thought about it, why won't Kyle guess that he would come here, since it was not a secret that there was an underground storage room that contained androids and robots? With him running underground, Kyle must have guessed his plans, and he knew there was no way for it to work. As Corey realized all of this, he felt extremely stupid despite his talent and high intelligence. I guess having omniscience and high intelligence won't give me the ability to make the best decisions at all times. I need to think more and utilize my talent and intelligence more. Corey thought. Despite Corey's character development, his situation, which was already bad, was just about to get a lot worse. Kyle, after hearing Matt's words, looked at Ball, the demi-basilisk, and the demi-basilisk also turned towards him, finally turning its gaze away from the cursed chimera. It swayed towards him and lowered its head towards him. Where is Zane? Kyle asked, and the demi-basilisk flicked its tongue a few times before it raised its head slightly, then looked at a certain direction. The direction? Exactly where Corey was hiding. The entire room became silent, and every eyes turned towards Corey's hiding spot. Sweat dripped down Corey's head as he continuously cursed his rotten luck and was begging for the demi-basilisk to have gotten his location wrong. He wanted to take a peek, but he could not risk it. There was a high chance that if the demi-basilisk got his location wrong, the entire group would find him. Just as Corey was weighing his options, he heard Kyle speak. "Zane, if you come out now, I promise to grant you a painless death. Don't worry, I'll kill you myself." Corey had a strange expression on his face, and he wondered what kind of nonsense and stupid persuasive words Kyle was using. He ignored Kyle's words and thought of how to get out of his predicament. Then he heard Kyle take a step and speak. "Step. Zane, do you want me to explain why I'm doing this?" Corey. "Step. Do you want me to tell you what actually happened to our friends?" Corey. "Step. Do you want me to tell you the location of Becca?" Corey. "Step. Do you also want me to tell you how she actually feels about you?" Just as Kyle said those words, Corey, whose fists were clenched and his body trembling, could not take it anymore and shouted, "Fuck you, bastard!" And just as he did, he saw a lightning bolt shoot towards him from Kyle, who was at least 5 meters away from him. Focus. Using his talent skill, Corey entered his focus state and calmly dodged the lightning bolt. After dodging the bolt of lightning, he quickly dashed to the entrance and ran with full speed. Matt wasted not a single second and chased after Corey immediately. Mac followed his brother, not wanting Matt to lose Corey due to the difference in their agility. Meanwhile, Kyle, the cursed chimera, and the demi-basilisk just stood there looking at all three running. Kyle looked at the cursed chimera and spoke. "Chase after him, but fly this time around." The cursed chimera giggled like a mischievous little girl, then flapped its wings, allowing it to float above the ground. After floating above the ground, it looked at the demi-basilisk and threw it a triumphant smirk before it flew away, chasing after Corey. The demi-basilisk, agitated by the cursed chimera, was about to chase after Corey also, but Kyle raised his hand up, telling it to stop. "Don't go after him on the surface. Go underground and chase him." Kyle pointed to the hole, and the demi-basilisk nodded its head in understanding and slid back into the hole, leaving Kyle alone in the room. He looked at the hole where the demi-basilisk disappeared into, and various thoughts appeared in his mind. "I wonder if it finally found something." Kyle thought absent-mindedly, then sighed and rubbed his neck. Zane, just die, will you, and stop acting like a cockroach. I have other things I have to do." Saying those words, Kyle finally left the room and went after Corey, but with calm and unrushed steps. He was the next supreme magus. His destiny is to be above all and below none. A simple Zane could not shake his destiny in any way or form. "I hate this. If I had powerful offensive skills, I would have a chance in defending myself and causing harm to those bastards, but I don't. If I survive, I'm getting offensive skills and a new weapon." Although Corey was frustrated due to his situation, he was calm, and his mind was rapidly thinking of how to survive. He was no longer the inexperienced boy who was running away from a low-level Smiley with an extremely frightened expression. He had gained experiences from the male dormitory, the time when he left the cafeteria, and mainly from the virtual room of the Library of Records. Due to all of this, he has learnt, not mastered, how to be calm in situations like this. He looked back and saw Matt and Mac a few meters behind him, with Mac in front of the duo. Just as he was about to turn his head, his eyes widened when he saw the cursed chimera flying towards him. It easily surpassed the duo and zoomed towards Corey, causing the hair on Corey's body to rise in alarm. Focus. Time slowed in Corey's eyes, and in the next 3 seconds, the cursed chimera got close to Corey and opened its mouth, wanting to devour him, but Corey crouched perfectly, dodging the mouth of the chimera while looking up at the chimera with a calm expression. His eyes moved to the left wing of the chimera, and with calm movements he pierced at the left wing of the chimera, and due to the chimera moving at high speed, its wings, which should not be injured easily by someone like Corey, was injured. Although the injury was not large, just 2 feet in size, the chimera screamed in pain and fell to the ground, causing a loud bang. Corey, still in his focused state, ran towards the chimera, which was now trying to get up, though it was struggling due to the injury from the wing. As soon as Corey was around 3 meters away from the chimera, he jumped over the chimera, not bothering to attack at all. But just as he jumped, he felt killing intent behind him, and he could hear and feel the wind behind him getting disturbed due to his focused state. Knowing he could not turn behind him immediately, he used the only defensive skill he had, Iron Skin, and tried to twist his body to the left to at least not let whatever was coming for him get his body accurately. A second after Corey twisted his body, an arrow pierced through his right chest, completely ignoring his iron body. Corey coughed out blood, then looked at the arrowhead protruding out of his chest with slight shock. Bam! Bam! Corey fell and tumbled twice on the ground, causing him to groan in pain. He struggled to get up, but his sight was blurry and his mind felt muddled. He deactivated his focus state and bit the tip of his tongue to wake himself up, and after it worked to a certain point, he quickly shook his head, then groaned as he got up. As his eyes cleared up, he saw Matt and Mac running towards him while holding their weapons. Knowing Matt's weapon, he looked at Mac, who was holding a beautiful blue bow as he ran. Corey looked at the blue bow before he looked at the arrow in his chest. With clenched teeth, he held the arrow by the head and pulled it out of his chest in one fell swoop. He coughed violently, but a second later, he quickly suppressed his cough and began running while holding the arrow. The distance between him and the brothers had decreased, so he could not waste a single second. After running for at least 25 seconds, Corey found the door, which led outside this death trap. So he clenched his teeth, resisted the pain in his right chest, and sped up. Whoosh! But just as he was about to reach the door, he could hear the sound of something large coming at him at a very fast speed. He quickly dodged to the left and saw Matt's great sword speeding past him. Then it went through the open door, slamming into a car with great force. Just as he was about to continue running towards the door, two sharp objects pierced him, one through his nose and the other into his right shoulder. Corey groaned and bent in pain. He wanted to kneel, but he knew he could not waste any more time. So he resisted, which was easier due to his level 3 pain resistance. He held the arrow, which was stuck in his nose by the head, and yanked it out of his nose with full force. He groaned in pain, but knowing that time was of the essence, he also removed the arrow, which was stuck in his right shoulder. This time he could ignore the pain since the arrow was not in a fragile and weak place. He held the two arrows with the previous arrow and ran towards the door while cursing Mac in his head so many times. Who the fuck shoots an arrow through somebody's nose? Why the fuck would you shoot an arrow through my nose? My precious nose. I'll have my revenge, you bastard. Meanwhile, as Corey was cursing Mac, Mac and Matt were currently dumbfounded as they kept on chasing Corey. What the hell? Does that guy feel no pain? Matt wondered as he looked at Corey, who was running at full speed. How do you expect me to know? I expected him not to get up after the first arrow, but he did. That one surprised me, but now this? This is abnormal. An arrow through the nose should drive an average human unimaginable pain, Mac said, and wondered what magic Corey was using to resist the pain he was meant to be feeling. Are we even sure the guy is human? There were so many times we expected him to die, but he just won't die. He would narrowly dodge the attacks of the Chimera, and sometimes he would just disappear from our eyes. Even his speed is way higher than we expected. Something about this guy just doesn't feel right, Matt said, and if Corey heard Matt's words, he would be surprised and shocked because he would never expect Matt to think that much. Mac looked at Matt for a second before facing the front. He passed through the door, which led outside, followed by Matt. Mac looked around for Corey, but then he frowned. With all the vehicles around, finding Corey would be difficult if he decided to hide. Well, at least that's for him and Matt. If Corey thought that hiding could save him, when the leader comes, he would definitely be in for a big surprise. Virum. Just as Mac was thinking that, Corey decided to hide. The sound of a bike sounded in his ears. They looked at the source and saw Corey on one of the fastest bikes in their city, driving toward the exit of the underground car park. Mac had a look of shock before he ran and shouted, "Stop worrying about Corey, and let's go." He probably just put most of his free attribute points into agility and must have a lot of luck. Let's go. He must not escape. Mac said hurriedly, then ran to the fastest car he could see and entered the passenger's seat. Matt, who had already retrieved his great sword, put it into his inventory, then ran to the driver's seat of the car. Pressing a button to start the ignition, the car roared to life, and Matt drove off, continuing the chase after Corey. 10 seconds later, the entrance to the storage room was blasted open, and the cursed Chimera flew in Corey's direction, but this time, it had an angry expression on its face or skull. /N. I need to ask an important question related to the females that read my book. If you could be granted a wish, what would it be? After some chapters, a few female characters would be introduced, and I'm not sure what abilities to give them. I have some ideas, but I would appreciate it if you guys could also tell me yours. And if none replies, I'll just use mine. Also, to the 2 people that drop golden tickets, I plan on bringing in your characters in Volume 2. I'm saying it so that when you don't see your character in Volume 1, you won't say I've forgotten or I lied. Thanks to the people that voted using Power Stones. Don't forget to vote, y'all. This is the last chapter I'm owing you guys, by the way. Have a great day/night.